Wow! What was I doing short down there? Welcome to Normal America Show, host robnoerr. Why do I hear an echo? What's going on? Anyways, good to be here today. Let me know if the audio is all right. Sorry I'm late. My computer is on the fritz. I don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully, we will get a computer soon here. I think it should be. So the studio looks dark here. Maybe I rearranged, I cleaned today. So maybe I got to don't have the lights close enough or something. But yeah, if the computer crashes, it crashes. I'm so sorry. Uh, oh, yeah, goes my wife downstairs repeating everything I say. There you go. It makes sense. Um, I gotta fix my Akbar picture. You can see it fell. It's crooked. I'll have to fix that. But yeah, the camera angle looks good. Good. I fixed some of the stuff in the wall. So I tried to do some. I was lazy. I didn't run the vacuum. I should have. But I had a guy look at my computer. My man Black Elk helped me last night. One of the problems I had was drivers were outdated. So I installed new drivers and then tried this morning to come on and just do like open up StreamYard without streaming. And as soon as I brought up a video again, it shut off the computer. So I was gonna. The two things I wanted to do tonight, if I streamed, one, I was just not going to stream because I was like, whatever, this computer's just going to shit the bed on me. And it still may. The other thing I was going to do was cover the debate that Pisco and Ryan Mullally just had. And of course, the ongoing insurrections and riots that you see occurring over and over again. But I'm afraid to play a video, if I'm totally honest with you, because there's something about it. I don't know if yeah, that's right. Conan made it the wall. Wife. I don't know what's going on with the idea of when I'm trying to play videos on X or YouTube. Now maybe I had a buddy come and he helped me clean it out, and we like got the canned air and all that stuff and cleaned it out, and it was pretty dusty. So maybe it's good now. I don't know. So I thought what we would do, since I'm on an hour and 15 minutes late, because I just watched the entire Ryan Pisco debate. I watched it and I thought that I would give my honest impressions of said debates. And I don't think that it was as clear as people think, if I'm honest. I'm probably going to give Pisco more credit on something. Actually, not really. I'm going to criticize Ryan on some things. I still think, I won't bury the lead. I think Ryan won pretty convincingly. But there were certain things strategically that I was like, not how I would have gone about it. Nonetheless, we'll talk about that debate somewhat. Have I ever spoken with Will Chamberlain? I have not, to my knowledge. But we will get on and we'll start talking about that debate. And if the computer crashes, I'm sorry. Because of that, it's going to be a slightly different type show. I'm going to try to read super chats as they come in, because what I don't want is for people to have generously donated to me and I can't read it because my computer shits the bed. So I'm going to try my best as the super chats come in to read them. So John Rock, thank you for the $2. Says 529.20. The evil left criminal riot on USA. Was that a video of mine, perhaps? Naughty Germ, $5. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. All right. So the topic of the debate, the specific topics was like, should Democrats expand the court? Now, just some inside baseball, what was going on behind the scenes with this debate was that Pisco's intention. Okay, let's backtrack even further. One of the most important things when discussing how to be a good debater is, and I say this over and over, I'm one of the only people I know that have ever said this. I've never heard anyone else say this. Now, I had some excellent debate coaches. I had debate coaches that are better than me as a debate coach. I was a pretty good debate coach. My strength was really helping people that were entering debate or moderate debaters. When it came to the highest level people at college, there is zero doubt that my coach that I had was way better of a coach than me. He was just, but he had trouble sometimes communicating to the entry-level debaters because he was so damn smart and so damn good that sometimes, and we had a small team. We only had one or two coaches depending on when. And so a lot of these bigger college teams, they have debate coaches designed just for the best teams and then debate coaches designed for the entry level. My coach wasn't like that. He had to coach everyone, right? And so it's hard to go into a round where he's coaching like me and my partner, where we're one of the top teams in the country, and then walk in and coach another team from our school who's literally it's their first debate tournament ever. It's hard to switch modes like and be like, okay, I'm talking at the highest possible levels of collegiate debate, and now I have to sort of be able to convey sort of strategy to people that aren't going to have that high of understanding. So I was pretty good though at talking to the people at the lower levels, and not as good the higher up you got. If I was honestly critiquing myself, so I've certainly been around good debate coaches, but that style of debate is self-evident why you're debating. You're debating to win the debate because it's a game. That's like saying, well, why are you playing in this chess tournament? To win, probably, right? It's a game. But debate's more than a game. It's not just a game, right? So what we do here online, or how debate is utilized, for example, in politics, it's more than just a game. It's more than just, okay, like we polled 100 people in the audience. Who do you think won the debate? You may have reasons other than just convincing those 100 people. For example, if you're running for president and there's only 100 people in the room and 90 of them think you go and you speak in front of the Congressional Black Caucus and they're going to judge the debate, you might get blown out because that group all has their own inherent biases and they don't like you. But when the grander scheme of the general public who you're trying to get to vote for you, they may have thought what you did was very well. So there could be multiple reasons. Ballyhoo, thanks so much for the 5, says Ryan attacked Pisco and held his feet to the fire like the left tried to do with January 6th. We need to be aggressive as Ryan was. He exposed him as a liar. I agree. So you have to ask yourself, why are you taking a debate? Why are you doing it? What's the point? Maybe the point's that you want to look good for your audience. Maybe the point's that you want to look good and grow your audience. Maybe the point's you want the people that are watching the debate to agree, if polled, that you won the debate. Maybe the point is that you're trying to make a political argument elsewise. And so when you watch this debate, it is absolutely clear. It is absolutely clear that Pisco walks in the debate and Pisco's agenda is, I want to win this prompt. That's what I want. I want to take a plan as narrowly as possible, or take the most narrow interpretation of the prompt as possible and argue that technically it's true, and then say, therefore, I won the prompt. Now, this is common to what we would do in the game of debate in college. I've talked about it. Maybe you find it boring, but I think maybe you'll see some interest in here. In the policy debate, the style of debate I did in college, you have one prompt for the entire year. And it's going to be big. So it'll say like, resolve, the United States federal government should ratify one of the following 5 treaties. One or more of the following 5 treaties. Or it might say, resolve, the United States federal government should substantially reduce subsidies in one of the following 5 areas. When you're affirmative, all you have to do is defend a plan that affirms the topic. So, for example, if the topic was defend one or sign one of these following treaties, you could say, yeah, we'll just sign the first treaty. And what you're trying to do is get a topic that is narrow as possible that meets the affirmation of the topic. That's what you want your plan to be. You want your plan to basically be as small as possible. Because the bigger your plan is, for example, if you said, fine, let's ratify all 5 treaties. Why not? We like them all. What your opponent will do is say, well, we agree with 4 of them, but the 5th one's bad. And so you give your opponent more room to attack. So you're best to narrowly focus on a narrow position that's hard to attack and get an expertise on that narrow position. Then your opponents, when they say, look, we don't like treaties 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can say, great, neither do we. All we have to do is argue treaty 1. That's our plan. Now, that makes sense if the purpose is to win that game in that moment. So clearly, it's debate the game is no different than you sit down to play Call of Duty with your friends. It's a game. That's what it is. That's it. Copycat dude. Thanks for the $5. Really appreciate it. right? So if you're just playing that game, sure. But if my arguments, it's one thing if I'm arguing, for example, I'm defending the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty to stop nuclear testing. If I'm defending it in a collegiate policy debate, my arguments are going to be different than if I'm trying to convince the country, hey, everyone, we should pressure the United States government to sign the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. My arguments are going to be different because the audience is different and a win condition is different. The win condition is not just an expert judge in the back of the room. Now it's the general public. Pisco was arguing, excuse me, like that style of collegiate debate that I did. I'm going to tailor the topic and be as narrow as possible and say, well, isn't this okay? See, I win this topic. Ryan's win condition wasn't that. Ryan was basically like, fuck this topic. I don't care about that. I care about the actual position that Pisco holds and the actual position that Democrats hold within the confines of this topic. So it wasn't as if the topic was, and this is how Pisco's trying to make it sound throughout the debate, right? It wasn't as if the topic was, should we expand the court? And Ryan came in and was like, Pisco, you cheated on your wife. You piece of shit. You're an immoral person. And Pisco was like, we're here to talk about court expansion. What does me cheating have anything to do? Fuck you. I don't care about court expansion. That wasn't what was happening. Ryan was like, yeah, the court expansion that we should be focused on is what you really believe. Ryan was arguing to use Pisco as an example so everyone can see how tyrannical the Democrats are. They have two different win conditions. Pisco wants to say, this is the exact wording of the topic. I've embraced the most narrow adherence to that topic. That's all I'll talk about. Ryan says, I want to talk about what you and the Democrats really believe when it comes to court expansion. I agree. I don't think Ryan was that far pressed to the prompt. Now, there are things that Ryan did wrong when it comes to his explanation, in my opinion. Ryan, full disclosure, is a friend of mine, as you probably know. We do a show together. I like Ryan a lot. However, when I'm reviewing a debate, I'm trying to be as honest as possible. I admit I have biases, and everyone should know that. But that's not going to preclude me. In fact, he might be coming on. Give me a second. We'll see. Ryan might come on. But I think Ryan gives too much up, is ultimately when he's like, I don't give a fuck about the topic. I think the better explanation is the topic should mean the actual plans that are being put forth by the Democrats. And I can explain it. I could give an analogy. Let's say that me and Pisco are arguing about Trump's his fund. Oh, okay, never mind. He sent a link. All right. I'm hopping on to Ryan's show here, so give me a second. My computer will probably crash.
Doesn't even support? Would you let him make this fucking debate about this nonsense thing he's doing to sane wash this unjustifiable, tyrannical imposition of power? Or would you go in there and punch that fucker in the mouth? So I don't do that. That's not my debate style. But tonight, I made an exception.
I have some constructive criticism, but before I get to that, this is what I was explaining. So I did collegiate debate. And in collegiate debate, the style I did, we called it policy debate. Mm-hmm. You have one topic all year. and it's usually very broad, right? Because you're debating the same topic all year. So it'll say something like, the United States federal government should substantially reduce subsidies in one of the following 7 areas. Now, when you're affirmative, you only have to have a plan that adheres to that affirms that topic, right? So what you want to do, and that's a game, right? That's a game. That's not your arguing what you really believe in. That's just a game. What you want to do is come up with an affirmative that it is narrow as possible. The difference in this debate is Pisco's arguing like a game. I'm going to take the most narrow interpretation possible of the topic and then say, see, it's a game and I could win that narrow interpretation. You're taking this as, this isn't a game. I'm still arguing within the area of the topic, court expansion, but I'm actually arguing the court expansion that really matters, which is what you believe and what the Democrats believe. Why should we argue a hypothetical narrow just so you could be like, oh, I've set the prompt to win this narrow interpretation that no one's really advocating for? So that's the difference of, and I tell people this all the time. The first question you need to ask when you take a debate is, what is the purpose of this? Why am I debating? Pisco was debating because he wanted a W on a narrow interpretation of the topic. You were debating because you're like, you fuckers are trying to destroy the country and I'm going to expose you. And you gave him every chance in the world. You're like, all you got to do is condemn it. And we'll talk about whether or not we should add even 1 seat. If you're willing to be like, of course, it would be too far if we put 4 seats on. That would go too far. I'm against that. The entire debate would have been different. You'd been like, fair enough. Then let's talk about whether or not we should add 1 seat. But you knew he wouldn't do that. And so we got to expose a more important victory. By the way, you won 86 to 14% anyways, or 84 to 16. But that was the difference.
The judges' scorecards have never mattered to Pisco, so I'm sure it won't matter the third time.
In fairness, he crushed you on his channel. I went over and looked. It was almost the same margin.
I'm fucking sure. On the flip side, I think I had more viewers than him tonight. So, you know. So here's the thing. I told you this, Rob, and I meant it. And I'm trying to be like just as honest with Chad as I can, that like I am saying this with my chest, and this is a different thing. Rob and I disagree about stuff. We disagree about political prosecutions. We disagree about Iran. I would take fat L's on every single one of those policy prescriptions to avoid this kind of court packing and tyranny. Every single one of them. I'd say Rob wins. I would stand up like a fucking monkey and be like, you know what? All those political prosecutions I said was bad. Turns out I was wrong and Rob was right. I would take the fattest, most embarrassing L in the world to prevent this from happening. You think I won't come on here and call you a sack of shit for trying to sane wash this? Like, it would be disingenuous of me to go up there and treat this like a game. It would be disingenuous of me to treat this like a game. And it would be a disservice to you people who are watching. Because this is not a fucking drill. This is not a drill. And the people who are going out there with these fucking hug box panels, did you see the fucking hug boxes he was on? Yeah. Where nobody gives him any real pushback. You know, and like, look, I like tomfoolery. I like Conor. These aren't people I'm going to shit talk. But they're on there and they're like, oh, I don't know. I guess it's justified to do one, so I've got to concede. And you win, Pisco, and even Wick. And Wick, to his credit, opposes this shit. Opposes it. Wick then goes, I oppose it, but I guess Pisco and Josiah won tonight. What can I do? What can I do? And it's like, know what you could do? You could have some real fucking opposition in the debate. You could have some real opposition in the debate because this shit is tyrannical. This is not a fucking drill, people. This is a big goddamn deal. So, you know, I mean, to me, yeah, I don't like doing this. This is not my preferred method of communication. And like a lot of people who are, I mean, Rob, we've met in person. Mm-hmm. I don't think I'm telling Tories out of school to say that I'm a smart guy and I'm a big guy. So I learned very early in my life that I could hurt people, and I mitigate that. I try not to be that guy, right? But sometimes, man, sometimes you got to fucking knock someone on their ass because bad things will happen if you don't.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I have some constructive criticism. Please, Rob. Right? That I think that you make a strategic optical error by saying I don't give a fuck about the topic. Mm-hmm. I agree, right? I know what you're saying, but I think the better way to phrase it would have been, look, the topic merely said, and when you at the end say it was clear that I wasn't interested in expanding it based on the tweets that we had, right? But to me, this is it. Like, my interpretation of the topic of should the Democrats expand the court is the realistic plans that the Democrats and my opponent have put forth. And those, what you really want. That's what we're here to argue. We're not here to argue a hypothetical that you're not really advocating for. Your advocacy is going to go further. So it's not as if, that what I was telling my audience right before I came on with you, it's not as if, Pisco said, yeah, we should expand the court. And your response was, but you cheated on your wife, you piece of shit. And I'm here to talk about you cheating on your wife. You're still arguing the topic. You just have a different interpretation. And so I think that they're going to run with he refused to debate the topic. And he admitted he didn't give a shit about the topic. When in reality, it's like, no, I give a shit about the topic so much that we should look at the realistic interpretations. This is how I would have phrased it if I was you. I'd have tried something like this. Like, Pisco, if we had a topic that said, should the Trump administration have a fund for people that were targeted maliciously by the feds, right? And what do you think Pisco would say to that? He'd say no. Yeah. He'd say, no, that's a bad idea, right? And so he comes on and he starts off and he's like, Trump's plan is fucking terrible. This is corrupt. It's a slush fund. And your argument was, no, I'm just suggesting a fund for $1. Just put $1 up there. That's all I'm suggesting. And if there's 100 aggrieved people, they each get a penny. What's the harm in that? $1? What's the harm, Pisco? And he would be like, Ryan, that's clearly fucking absurd. We're clearly talking about the plans that have actually been put forth. That's the most reasonable interpretation of the topic when we're talking about a fund. This fund exists. That's what we're talking about. It's the exact same argument here. The idea that because what Pisco wants to do, and you called this out in the opening, he wants to be like, well, if I could make a hypothetical argument for 1, then that hypothetical argument should apply to 2, and it should apply to 3, and it should apply to 4, and it should apply to 5. And so it's just, you always take this one narrow slice. What you did that was phenomenal was you showed the audience, whatever if you think of the fucking prompt, know this. Here's a guy that's trying to sit here and say, oh, it's just a reasonable little thing just for deterrence, who also wants to end the filibuster, who also wants to pack the Senate, who also wants to, have term limits for these justices and impeach certain people, who also wants to keep Trump off the ballot, right? It's when you look at the picture in total, you can see that this is not people advocating reasonable plans. It's trying to put a thin veneer, as you said, a banality. Oh, it's just a little thing. We're just arguing in the abstract. That's all it is. When in the reality, what they really want is total control and total offense against their enemies. And so I thought you did a beautiful job on the grand scale of that.
Yeah, I take the point, and I think that I could have taken the approach of at least giving more lip service to the prompt. I kind of talked about it at the end a little bit, but at the end of the day, what really offends me about what Pisco's doing is he's treating this shit like a game. Yep. That's what offends me about it.
Well, they have to.
Yeah.
Because
they have to, because it's transparently tyrannical. It's transparently tyrannical. So, it's like, well, if you're going to treat this shit like a game, why am I playing? Why am I fucking playing with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, isn't my responsibility on some level to point out that this motherfucker is lying? This motherfucker is trying to convince the world. He doesn't do this shit to no audience. He's trying to convince the world that this is okay, and these fucking Hugbox panels let him do it. So they set up this curated environment, and he runs his goddamn talking points, and then people leave going, they have a point about that court packing thing. They don't have a fucking point. They don't have a fucking point in the world. What they have is tyranny. That's what they fucking have. And the last thing is, I don't want this to be some academic point that people are like, oh shit, if you follow down on premise 5 and then you get to Bork and then you run the definition, you're like, no, just as a matter of common sense and decency, be like, should the Democrats get to rig the system against the Republicans forever? Nah, probably not. That sounds bad.
And it's like you didn't get into it so deep. And that's one of the problems with this format, which I don't blame Pisco or the moderator any. It's just an hour's not a lot of time, believe it or not. If I know people that don't do public speaking or debates, they're like, an hour is a huge amount of times. Not really. And you know that as a lawyer, an hour is nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing, So, the definition of court pack, right? He just has this definition. He says it's not proprietary because it's in the academic literature. Then he never gets around to reading the literature.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's lying. Maybe he just didn't have time as well. Fair enough. But the point is, he then gives the game away when he's talking about, well, there's no objective truth in language. Now, this is a philosophical thing, but it's worth pointing out. Technically, all language is sort of societally created. So you could be like, language is malleable, right? Because maybe what exactly we mean about something today is not the same as we meant 1,000 years ago, et cetera, et cetera. Great, got it. It's all socially constructed. But it also, there's thresholds to this, right? So if you accept it like Pisco's trying to say, then that literally gets to the question the super chatter is saying, well, is water wet? Right? Or is it like, do we even know what water is? Or do we all have the ability to just arbitrarily make up whatever we want as definition of words completely? So it is true, because it is true that language is socially constructed, people use this to say, then I should just get to insert whatever definition I want into anything, and it's okay because everything's societally constructed. But clearly that's beyond the pale, because if we don't have a mutual understanding of language, then debate's impossible. Like any sort of debate of concepts other than just like miming, like other than that, debate's impossible. And so when he defines court packing in a way that no one else does, and he even says, what's it matter if it's just my own definition? Why would that matter? Because Pisco, you're saying that justifies you doing court packing reciprocally. If court packing means something different than what happened with Merrick Garland, then it's not reciprocal.
Well, if court pack, this is the thing. He's like, oh, it's my proprietary, it's an internally consistent definition. Well, it's like, well, if you define court packing to mean apples, well, okay, the Republicans got some apples. So now the Democrats get to get some apples. It's like, that might be true, but it's kind of meaningless in the context of our broader politics. Who gives a fuck? Right? You're at a certain point, you're supposed to use language to mirror reality. At the very least, there's an objective reality out there and you're trying to match up with it. By the way, I put this on screen just to point out, I think these motherfuckers thought I was kidding. I didn't not warn them that this was going to be a different kind of debate. I think that they thought I was kidding. I think they thought I have one speed. That I all I do is throw curveballs. I'm a technical pitcher. Ryan's, he's going to get up there and he's going to give this long, meandering legal diatribes. That's what Ryan's going to do. He's not going to get up there and just punch me in the fucking face.
Well, that's why they don't like a lot of those people that like Josiah and them, they don't want to debate me one-on-one either. Josiah, if you're listening, call my bluff. I'll debate you whenever you want on anything. Yeah, pretty much.
Please, I'd love to watch that show.
But he knows he's anyways, the point is, right, getting back to this.
It's so funny. Josiah's like, Ryan burned a bridge when he accused me of this shit. I'm like, what bridge? You said you'd never debate me again like fucking months ago. What bridge?
I'll give this.
What are we talking about? What bridge?
I think we both respect Pisco in this sense. He's game to debate. He'll debate.
He's not a coward.
No, he will definitely debate. So I'm not here. I don't think the same is true of Josiah. I think that he wants a partner that he could hide behind, or doesn't want to debate these topics one-on-one. Anyways, the court packing definition. So when you get right down to it, if he's like, I'm looking at his premise here now, right? Here's his premise one. All right, he said, if there is an injurious partisan Supreme Court packing, and there's no effective way to reverse it without court packing, and the proposed reciprocal packing doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence, and there's no reason to expect severe consequence cascade, then the injured party is justified in the reciprocal expansion of the Supreme Court. Okay, then he says, he's like, yeah, but who cares if this shit, you're like, what's injurious? What's court packing? And he's just like, wow, this is what it means to me. But given that same definition, if your conclusion is this, okay, well, I think that Bork was court packing, right? I think that was court packing, giving Pisco's definition, right? And I have who cares if it's my own definition? If I call that court packing and we accept that that's court packing, because that's Pisco's argument. Pisco's argument here here's why you should prefer my definition is court packing. His argument's just like, so what? It's my definition. And if my definition is accepted, then isn't this a logically true argument? Okay, but if you do the same thing and say, I have a definition of court packing that says Bork, Everything else entails from his premises that the Republicans were justified to keep Merrick Garland off the court, and it would be injurious and retaliatory for the Democrats to now add seats to the court, which he says we should reject. His only argument is, I disagree what happened with Bork was court packing. But when you yourself are just coming up with your own definitions of court packing, then he's literally, if you take a step back and look at his argument, it literally becomes, I just think that this is court packing because it hurt my side, so we're justified to add seats. And if you say the same thing, you're just wrong because I disagree with you. Yeah, that's not a good way of debating. Words do have objective meaning.
Well, and the thing about this is, like, look, here's the Merriam-Webster definition. The act of packing a court, and especially the U.S. Supreme Court, by increasing the number of judges or justices in an attempt to change the ideological makeup of the court. If you take this definition, then nothing that McConnell did is packing.
Look at this, and I assume there's legal experts or journalists here that, under that Merriam-Webster definition, that was using the term court packing exactly as that.
Well, but look, here's the other thing. If I wanted to be hyper-technical, which I obviously did not want to do, if I wanted to be hyper-technical, because the problem with hyper-technical arguments is I think that there's like 3 people in my audience who give a shit about them. Chapingro, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I know you would like the hyper-technical argument, but there are 3 powers that Congress has, right? They have advice and consent power. They withhold advice and consent all the time. They withheld it for Bork. Sometimes they just... there's like 5 or 6 examples beyond Garland of them just not voting and letting it lapse. This happens, right? They don't have to have a hearing. Sometimes they have hearings, sometimes they don't. They've done both ways. Advice and consent power, that's one. Then there's legislative powers. They can expand the court by passing a law. They can shrink the court by passing a law, right? They can, like in Virginia, they can impose a retirement age. They can use their legislative powers to affect the court. And then there's a third power, which is they can impeach justices. Court packing is the legislative power. That's what we're normally talking about. That's the technical definition. But like, Jesus Christ, why would I, in this context, why the fuck would I try to explain that? And have people going, whoa, what's your source for that?
Right.
What do you mean by that? And then he gets to interrupt me the whole time. No. This is about, you are lying to people and using thin veneer of logic to confuse them about what is intuitively obvious, that what you're doing is tyrannical. I'm not going to fucking develop a technical definition for you. Fuck off.
Yeah, and I mean, if like Pisco wants to debate me on this, I'll even debate him just strictly on his fucking syllogism. Because if you wanted to, and you make the more important argument, which in the greater context, the more important argument is the extremeness that they actually believe and they're hiding. Right? But if you actually would spend like 2 to 3 hours on a syllogism, it's so bad. For example, with this syllogism, if you take any of the premises out, then the syllogism falls apart, which means that we have to reject it, right? Okay, part 1, the definition of court packing, right? He has a definition that's sort of unique, so he would have to win that we have his unique definition as opposed to what literally almost everyone else in the world means by court packing. So he would have to win that, already an uphill battle, that we should radically change the definition of the commonly accepted term court packing. So he has to win that, number 1. Number 2, if he wins that, he has to win that doesn't mean that like what happened to Bork wasn't court packing, because his own interpretation is, if that was court packing, then it was justice and deterrence for the Republicans to do it to Merrick Garland. Therefore, they wouldn't be justified in packing the court again. So that's going to be an uphill battle. And I know that a lot of, look, you're an attorney. I dabble my toe in the water of law. But even I know this. Any serious attorney looks at Bork as like a landmark sea change in the history of like confirmations of the Supreme Court. It is was a radical shakeup of norms. Radical. And so that's why with my super chat...
He acts like he's never heard of it.
With my super chat, when I asked, was like, okay, but Pisco, if you say that you wouldn't support retaliation, only the original group that was transgressed upon getting justice, right? And if Bork came first, and if that was court packing, based on your definition, then you would have to agree that there was no damage, no injurious behavior. It was just evening the scales, what Republicans did to Merrick Garland. And he He literally is just like, yeah, but I don't agree with that. Okay, so then what I want you to do, anyone out there, if you have an attorney friend, ask them, hey, do you think what happened to Bork when he was being considered, do you think that was a violation of norms? I will guarantee that 99% of lawyers, even left wings, will be like, oh yeah, they really changed how the confirmations went after that. Everybody knows it. And so now Pisco has to win that uphill battle of somehow this wasn't a violation of norms, right? Then Pisco would have to win that there won't be a cascading effect. He tries this sever trick where he's like, well, even if there would be a cascading effect, it would still be preferable to the status quo. But the problem with that is that's not what his premise says. His premise says there won't be injurious cascading effects that will be worse than the status quo. It just says there won't be cascading effects. That would take out the entire argument. So it's even his premises are bullshit. His little syllogism.
Well, and this is why I was harping on that quote he had, that crazy quote he had in the Brad Palumbo show, which, like, you know, the nature of the show, Brad's he's keeping it moving, it's quick. Sean's not a lawyer, he didn't like pounce on it. I like Actual Justice Warrior. I don't know him, but I like his content, so no shade there. But, like, you know, Pisco's going to say, let me put on, you know, my steel man for Pisco. He's going to say, no, I meant by oscillation that it has to go through this process, and it has the virtues of bicameralism and presentment, and that might slow things down. And then, you know, like that's what he's talking about there. But Brad said to him, you think that it's a virtue for this to lead to a situation with 100 justices and no one cares what the court thinks? And Pisco said, you might be befuddled or something along those lines, but it's a virtue. Let me explain. And then he explained his bicameralism presentment point.
Yeah.
I think that's insane. I think he's literally saying, what he's saying is that the status quo with the current court is so bad that he thinks that's an acceptable risk. That's what he's saying, right? That's what he means, right? He said it. And he doesn't not mean it. He means it. That's insane. That's an insane position, right? Because, like, you're basically saying that even if the cascade occurred, you don't care. You don't care. Well, okay, what are we doing here? And I actually, Rob, I do have to credit you in part. I know you gave me some advice to do some things differently, but the best advice Rob ever gives anybody about debates and the internet: understand why you're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. Understand why you're having a conversation. And if you do that, everything else starts falling into place, right? Rob, I have like a billion super chats to do.
I'll get out of your hair, man.
Out or not?
We can talk Monday. I'm sure we're doing the show Monday, so I'll get out of your hair. I'm gonna keep talking about this and some other stuff here. But man, it was a pleasure. I thought you did great. I think Rob. Pisco knows he didn't do so well, and he's just, you know, he's gonna just, you didn't debate the topic. It was all performative. Why does what I really believe matter to it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know,
it's kind of funny. Pisco doesn't like being treated the way that he treats people in debates. It's weird. It's like he thinks he's the only one who knows how to do that. I don't know. It's not that hard. It's just something that I choose not to do because I'm not normally out there trying to punch someone in the mouth. I think it's like a weird way to engage.
Yep.
But, you know, that's what I can behave that way.
Yeah.
I'm capable. Fuck him. Anyway.
Oh, I was he just ended his stream. I was trying to chum Pisco over. I was going to argue with him, but I think he just ended. But you did great. It's always a pleasure, man. And you earned the victory tonight. And I know that the last thing I'll say to your audience is, I think that me and Ryan and people like Andrew Wilson and some other people are in total agreement that it's campaign mode at this time. And we are not hyperbolic at all when we say that what the Democrats are suggesting here could well be the end of our country. And it's that important to sort of inform people on this issue that otherwise might not understand the gravity of it, of just how tyrannical it is. So
I was just saying the same thing to Andrew the other day, where, like, because Andrew and I were having a frank conversation. And one of the things to his credit, Andrew's very honest. He was like, you know, you and me actually disagree on a lot. Like, your kind of like libertarian leanings, and like Andrew's not. He does not have that view of society, right? Like, and we disagree on a whole lot of shit. And what I said to him is, like, in a saner world, you and I would spend every minute of every day arguing about our disagreements.
Yep.
In a saner world.
Yep. Me too. Me too.
That's just not where we are.
Yep.
Like, because like I would love to debate Andrew about the shit I disagree with him on. But like right now, that's not what's happening right now.
It's small potatoes in the grand scale of things.
I mean,
I say this all the time. Me and Andrew, we used to debate all the time. Hell, we'd do mock debates, and people would clip us out of context, and then you'd see it all over X. Look, Rob really's pro-Biden now. Andrew's really pro-feminism now. So we've decided, that we're only going to discuss things that we actually disagree with. And at this point, because the danger is so severe, coming from this side. I mean, you could just see, I don't know what to say. Like, it's so frustrating that Pisco just won't admit it. And I know we've talked about this before. That's what pisses me off the most. Like, I know you got super chat. I'll just say this real quick. Yeah. Like, when he'll debate me and he'll be like, what do you think about Trump? Like, specifically targeting his opponents. Like, that's so terrible. And I'd be like, Pisco, be honest. Do you think the reason that Fannie Willis or that Alvin Bragg or Letitia James targeted Trump was because he was president and because he was the lead opposition? No, I don't think that had anything to do with it. And it's like, why do you lie, man? You know that's bullshit. You know. They made up rules. He was the only person ever charged in the way he was like Bragg did. And it's like, you know what you're doing, man. And he's just like, no, I don't think Trump being president had anything to do with it. They would have charged him just the same. That's the shit. It's like, at least say it with your chest. I'll be honest. You might think, me and you've had these arguments. You'll be like, Rob, I think you're going too far. But at least I'm giving my honest opinion, right? Not Pisco. Oh, well, I'm not saying that for the context of this debate. Right, you wait until you're a little hug box, and then you can tell people how radical you really are. But when you're out and you see an audience that's not your own, and you're like, oh, no, I'm just adding one little seat. That's all we're talking about, one little seat, Yeah, so great job exposing them. And have fun reading your super chats and stuff. We'll talk soon, man.
Rob, always a pleasure, buddy.
Appreciate
you coming on.
Yep. All right. The great Ryan Mullally. Let's even get to the super chats. I will get to mine. Sarah from Carlson. $5 says, thanks, Rob. Thank you. Lone Wolf and Cub. $2 says, Pisco. Twist words until I'm right. Huge Ryan W. Totally agree. John Smith. I saw him over there super chatting in modern day debate. $5 says, Pisco convinced me to take Ryan as my lawyer at the end. Good man. Tiger Nuts, $10 says, I just became a Ryan fan tonight. He did an awesome job. Love seeing Pisco lose his mind. Rob, you're the GOAT. Thank you. Yeah, Ryan did great. He really did. American Dad, 19 months. Holy cow. Pisco needed the lecture Ryan gave him. Totally agree. Hey, $5 says, not enough seats up for election in 2026 for Democrats to reach 67 Senate seats or 290 House to pack the court without Trump's veto. True. But the point is to win the seats now, then win the presidency, and then you won't need a veto. And they're also going to pack the Senate and all of this stuff, which would mean that they would basically not have to worry about Republican reciprocation. If you're going to do something, it's sort of like if you come at the king, don't miss. If you're going to do something this radical, you got to go all in. You're like, we're going to stack the deck in they would get rid of voter ID. They would let in tens of millions of people. They'll push to redo the census. They'll push to reinstate the VRA, saying you can racially gerrymander. They'll do it all. Because if you do this and you don't ensure that your opponents can't come back, they know that the opponents are going to come back twice as hard. So instead, you're like, fuck it, we got to go all out. And that's what they're suggesting. So I think Ryan's right to point that out. And then Erdu Tarn. Let's see if I get Air Doc Tornapi. $20. Thank you. Says, I called Pisco out in a small gamete person giving birth, and he changed his definition to XY giving birth because his example was any XY person with a uterus that has no gametes. Kudos to you guys dealing with these people. Yeah, I thought the same thing when he said small gametes. I was like, really? I'm unaware of that. Happy to be enlightened. Show me a person with small gametes giving birth. And then he backtracked. I saw he was like, well, I'm not sure if that's true. Exactly. All right. Dr. Nappy. Oh. Well, I screwed that up. So going more in the debate. Yeah, I mean, Ryan, I'm like I said, the one part I think Ryan could have shored up is optically, it doesn't look good when you're like, I'm not debating the prompt. Because he was. The example I gave about Trump's fund. Does that make sense to you all? Me and Pisco are arguing online. We're on X, and he's like, this fund that the Trump administration, it's a slush fund that he's giving to January 6 people and stuff. This is so corrupt. And I said, do you want to debate? And he says, yeah. And I said, okay, the topic will be, should Trump administration have a fund for people targeted unfairly? And Pisco entered that debate. And I said, yes, Trump should set up a fund with $1. Pisco would be like, come on, that's not what's happening. And I'd say, that's the prompt, dude. You should have worded the prompt specifically then to say the current fund that Trump has set up. That's not. And then he would be like, okay, whatever, dude. Do you agree with Trump's fund that he has set up? I'm not taking a position on that. That's irrelevant. That's deflecting from the debate. You know what Pisco would have said. He would have said, this is bullshit, man. This is cowardice. Rob, do you agree with Trump's fund? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. I'm just talking about the prompt right here. If you want to concede this prompt and move on, he would have been like bullshit, and rightfully so. Am I America first or church first? Well, it depends on what you mean by church. I'm Christian first, but not a specific church. I have other questions about Pisco. Like this is like my feelings on this topic. Now, maybe I'm happy to talk to Pisco about it. I am. He come on anytime, unless my computer crashes, right? Which it's prone to do. But if Pisco's arguments are true, let me start with this. I'll tell you what I think. I think that Pisco, along with many Democrats, oh shoot, what am I doing here? I'm screwing up. Give me a second. There we go. I think Pisco, along with many Democrats, believe in this sort of concept of, I don't even know how to define it, so let me explain it, right? It will be easier to explain than try to come up with like some fancy definition, right? They feel that our side is evil or corrupt beyond repair, and they're virtuous and good. But that doesn't mean that they're like, then just wipe out our opponents. They believe in using only the force that is necessary to win. Most of them. Some will go beyond. So in other words, let's say that I'm circa 2019 robnoerr, streaming to 2 or 3 people. Are they going to push for me to get censored? No, they don't give a shit about me. Because no matter how effective my arguments will be, I don't have any influence. But then let's say I become state senator robnoerr. Now it's a little different. Now, the tactics that could be used against me are allowed to increase based on the amount of influence I have. Let's say I become U.S. Representative robnoerr. Stakes go up. Let's say you become someone like Charlie Kirk. The stakes go up. Now, this is seen all through so many of these left-wing people, whether it be the politicians, whether it be the people in the mainstream media, or whether it be the streamers, people like Pisco, Destiny, etc. For example, when the assassination attempt of Trump occurred, people pointed me to Destiny's Reddit, and what the Redditors on there were saying were this. It's exactly what I'm talking about, and this will explain it to you. They said, we tried to beat Trump at the ballot box, and it didn't work. Then we tried to beat him within the legal system, and it didn't work. And we tried to beat him with impeachment, and it didn't work. So, you see, it escalates. We try this, doesn't work, fine. Now, while you're winning then, as a Democrat, it's okay to be like, respect norms. If everything's going the Democrats' way, they're not worried about packing the court. They're like, great. If Trump loses in 16 and Hillary wins and serves 2 terms, and then and then Kamala Harris serves 2 terms, and they're not going to be talking about packing the court. Everything's groovy. They escalate as they become more desperate. As they start to see power slip through their fingers, then the tactics that they'll embrace escalates. It's not that they were opposed to authoritarian tyrannical grasps. Of course not. It's just there's no need for them until there is. That's what's going on. So given that, I think what's happened is Pisco's seen some big L's in the court. So now he changes his position. Okay, pack the court. And he'll come up with the post hoc justification. Now, I have evidence for that position, I think. Now, I implore you, is there anyone that's a big Pisco fan or in my chat? If so, it's okay. We won't fight. No problem. I was trying to get Pisco on here because this is what I want to ask him. Am I incorrect? Or up till like a year ago, when I saw people like Josiah, at least Josiah, and I think others that Pisco does a show with called Live and Learn, and Josiah has adamantly been for packing the courts. Hasn't Pisco constantly been against that up until like recently? Like maybe 2025? Am I wrong about this? The Pisco's position as of like prior to 2025 was no, don't pack the court. That's too extreme. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that was his position. If that's the case, and I'll fully, if I'm told, if Pisco's like, no, Rob, I've always had this, fair enough. But I can't say I'm the biggest connoisseur of watching his material, but I thought in interactions I've seen him have with those people that was his claim. Then what's changed? Because the Merrick Garland situation occurred in 2015. So surely Pisco, who was studying law, and at least you could say, okay, he was studying. It wasn't until like 2021, 2022, he passed the bar. Okay, but surely at that point then, as someone who understood the law, he would see that this was blatant court packing, in his words, what happened with Merrick Garland. So why wouldn't he accept it then? Unless it's actually about the outcomes and the court decisions. And he doesn't like the way the decisions are going. So now he's like, you know what? Actually, we should pack the courts. Now, the truth is, you know it, I know it, Pisco knows it, all of Pisco's audience knows it, Ryan Mullally knows it. Everyone that watched that debate knows this is the truth. They won't admit it, Pisco's side. They're just pissed and they're partisan and they want power. And so let's make up an excuse for it. That's it. It's really that simple. It's that simple. What's up, my friend Andrew? Our buddy Ryan Mullally did very good tonight. $20, thank you. Says, how long have you been waiting on this PC, Rob? A long time. Supposedly coming. Got shipped out today, supposedly. So, one way or another, it will be remedied next week. So, Snotface, $5 says, just to support. Thank you. Now, let's look. If, like I said, I think Ryan plays the smart game of just being like, this is, you know what? Fuck this. I don't even really care about the exact. Speaking of which, Andrew is here, right? The best I've ever seen someone do this in a debate, explaining the idea. And for me, it's like debate 101. The very first thing I recommend to people when they ask me, like, how do I be a good debater? The very first thing I say, and it sounds stupid, and I know people are tired of me saying it, and it's just like, you know, it sounds like some hippie yogi bullshit or something. You have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this debate? What am I trying to accomplish? Am I trying to grow my audience? So I want some viral moments? Am I trying to sound, you know, stoic? Etc. Right? Andrew's debating Destiny on what is the definition of insurrection. Right? Now, Destiny comes in and he's like, here's my definition. And the definition Destiny said was from these scholars, Bode and Paulson. I have it saved here because I don't know if you knew this, right now, tonight, according to Destiny and all the left, there is an insurrection occurring in Newark in an ICE facility. Here was the definition that Destiny gave in the debate with Andrew Wilson. An insurrection is, quote, an assemblage of people united for a common purpose, resisting the implementation or execution of a particular law or interfering with the course of government proceeding by way of force or intimidation for a public purpose. Andrew's like, yeah, okay, sure, fine, fuck, I don't care. Andrew's the negative. He's like, I don't have to give a definition. I just have to say your definition sucks. If we accept your definition, that means that two hippies that are pissed off that they can't smoke weed shoving a cop is an insurrection. And Destiny's like, yeah. Okay. Now, Destiny walks away from that debate and all of his audience like, Destiny won the debate. He won the prompt, blah, blah, blah. But Andrew won the war because Andrew's purpose wasn't, I'm going to win this individual prompt. Andrew's purpose was, I don't even give a shit what the definition of insurrection is. All I'm trying to point out is you people are partisan hacks that don't give a shit either, because if you did, based on your own definition, there are hundreds of insurrections a year, and you never say fuck all about them. And of course, who wins that debate at the end of the day? Despite all of Destiny's fans, oh, Andrew, he's just a sophist. He wouldn't give a definition, blah, blah, blah. Now, nigh on 2-3 years later, what's Destiny arguing? Well, not all insurrections are bad. I was never saying that. Now that we see, again, as predicted, as Andrew told him, your definition is so broad that we're going to see left-wing insurrection after insurrection after insurrection again as soon as there's something they don't like, and you're not going to give a shit. That's the whole game. Destiny and Pisco and these type of guys, what they do is this. They're like, let's just look at something really narrow in a vacuum. Just one thing really narrow. It's just benign. What's the definition of insurrection? That's it. We're not applying it to anything. We're just asking, what's the definition of insurrection? Then they take that and they go, therefore do all this fucked up shit to the January 6th people. Keep Trump off the ballot. Do this, that, and the other. See, it's an insurrection, right? But when you're like, yeah, but if you pull out and you look at the grand scheme and if you say, well, fine, if we accept that's an insurrection, then Black Lives Matter was an insurrection. Kamala Harris promoted a bail fund for it. How many Democrats spoke up for Black Lives Matter? That's a fucking insurrection. Why are they allowed on the ballot? Oh, that's different, that's different, that's different. We don't want to talk about that. Right. In fact, the debate I did with Destiny where he rage quit, I took it on one condition. I said, I will happily take your debate on what is the definition of insurrection as long as you grant me near equal time on the two-tier way in which you want to apply that definition. What happened? Me and Destiny debate his bullshit for 4.5 hours. We get 10 minutes on the subject I want to talk about. He rage quits and blacklists me. That's the argument. You take these arguments in microcosms and you put them in, like, you segregate them, put them in their own little, right? You sort of sequester them. And then you go back to your audience and say, see, I won that little portion. That justifies X. Yeah, John, I did read that super chat. I don't know what that was. Was that a title of one of my videos or someone else's? It says, I missed you seeing my super chat 5/29/2020. Yeah. And what you said was... where did it go? Well, I don't see it now, but I did read it. Left seat John Chuck forced Trump into bunker. Oh, yeah, the May 29th. Yeah. Was that the name of one of my... Yeah. Why don't I see that original super chat, though? That's weird. So it's the same thing here. If you understand what was going on in that Andrew Destiny debate, it's the same thing here. Pisco comes in, and I understand Pisco's side's going to be... his side's going to be... Oh, well, we agreed to this narrow prompt, and that's all that matters. But it's not all that matters. It's all that matters to Pisco. Because he doesn't want people to know what his actual positions are. because he can't defend them. Adrian Little, $20 says, loses battle but wins the war. Grand strategy. Green, wars may be fought with weapons, but they're won by men. Patton, yep. Excellent. Thank you so much, Adrian. Hoffman, $10 says, you and Andrew versus Jim Bob and Jay for Americanism. Willing? I don't know exactly what's meant by Americanism, but sure, I'm always up for a debate. I don't know how much disagreement there is with Jim Bob and Jay. Are you the person that asked, am I country first or church first? Trusting the system. I don't know what that means. How do I trust the system? What does that mean? What does distrusting the system mean? Explain. Does distrusting the system mean I'm black-pilled and the system will never do anything, so we should stop voting? Yeah, I'm against that, if that's what not trusting the system means. Sure, I would say that's terrible. That's a terrible strategy. Is that what you're suggesting? I get it. I get, like, the people that are black-pilled like that. I just think that that's, like, a terrible way to go about it, in my opinion. But neither here nor there for what we're talking about today. So for me, if it's true that Pisco, for example, has recently changed his opinion, why? And there's so much out, like, I'll just go through real quick. I don't know if you can see this, and this is probably going to be a mistake. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Okay. How do I can't do it. It doesn't let me zoom in on a... Oh, you know what I could do maybe? Here, wait. Can I screenshot Pisco's thing? Maybe. What do I hit? Like, yeah, there we go. Okay. It's going to be real fuzzy, but let's try something. Let's try to add this picture. And so we can see, I'm not trying to be shitty. I just, it's his actual syllogism. We'll try to get it on screen and we can talk about it a little. Okay. It's fuzzy. I apologize. I don't think Pisco would mind. So, can I bring myself out of the... Can I do this? No. No. There we go. That works. All right. So, here's his argument for court packing. The first premise just says, if all the other premises are true, it would justify, right, the conclusion. Right? So, let's look at premise 2. There was an injurious partisan Supreme Court packing. He has to define court packing. What he's talking about is Merrick Garland. Right? So if you forget what happened, and I'm actually wasn't the biggest fan of this, Mitch McConnell was like, the Senate has to give advice and consent. So a president will put someone up for confirmation, and then the Senate will give advice and consent and decide whether they accept it. And Mitch McConnell, for like a year, was like, nope, we're not going to do it, because Joe Biden suggested in the early 90s, if you have a situation where you have the president is one party and the Congress, the Senate is the opposite party going into an election year, you should not have a Supreme Court justice nominated. Instead, you should allow that to be an issue that people get to vote on. Now, you could agree or disagree with that, but that's not court packing. Court packing is adding seats to the court. Pisco's argument is, well, I just define that as court packing. And his definition of court packing was like, it's injurious, that violates a norm, that changes the composition of the court. That's his argument. So as I said, if any of these premises, premise 2 through 6 or 1 through 6 fall, then that means that we don't do court packing. right? So in this case, he's relying on the Merrick Garland situation is court packing. Now, as Ryan says, this has occurred in the past. There's definitely been times when both Republicans and Democrats refused to confirm justices. What was unique about this was not even consider, just announcing we're not even going to consider. But the reason he has to call, why does he call that court packing? Ask yourself this. Because he's even like, well, whatever you want to call it, court packing, whatever, you know. He uses that term for a specific reason. Hey, who raided? Oh, Ryan. What's up? What's up, Ryan's crew? Excellent job. We're going through Pisco's premise here. Now, I will say in Pisco's defense, I did offer for him to come over. I was happy to talk to him, but he literally ended his stream as I was asking him. Thank you, Ryan. So we're just going through the premises, and I'm going through the premise. So forget premise 1 right now. It just says, if all the premises are true, it justifies the conclusion. Premise 2, there was injurious Supreme Court packing. Why does he says near the end of the debate, he's like, during the audience question, he's like, court packing or whatever you want to call it. He admits that there's no objective meaning of the word court packing. Okay? Now, if that's the case, and he's just using his own, why did he choose to call what happened to Merrick Garland court packing? Let's assume this. Oh, how do I take this off? Let's say I said this. Trump is justified in retaliating against James Comey. And what I want Trump to do is to throw that motherfucker in Gitmo. Don't even give him a trial. Put him in Gitmo. That's what I want. This is a hypothetical. This isn't what I really want. But in this hypothetical, I say that's what I want. Trump should retaliate against Comey, and he should put him in Gitmo. And a bunch of other Republicans are saying this. Yes, prominent Republicans, you know? Mark Levin says it. And Jim Jordan says it. And Lindsey Graham says it, right? And then Pisco says, that's fucked up. This is crazy. And I say, you want to debate about it? Yeah. Okay, the prompt is it justified for Trump to retaliate against Comey? Okay. And then I say, my definition of the word retaliate is any acknowledgement and chagrining of someone that's perceived you of doing, you perceived as wronging you. And so if Trump just goes, Comey, that's retaliation. Hasn't Comey done things against Trump? Like Comey's even admitted he wouldn't have signed off on the FISA warrants against Carter Page had he been more aware. So wouldn't it be okay for Trump to just be like, Comey? That's how I define retaliation. And Pisco would say, no, bullshit, Rob. I've heard you on stream. I've heard you on stream saying you want Comey being thrown in Gitmo. That's what Lindsey Graham's saying, Rob. That's what Mark Levin's saying. That's what they want is retaliation. I said, that has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do. Rob, the way you're defining retaliation, other people don't define. I disagree. I think, who cares? You see the problem? You see what happens? The reason that Pisco chooses to call what happened to Merrick Garland court packing is because he's doing a sleight of hand. And he's saying, if we call this court packing and this is court packing, if it happened here, now it could happen here. But if you don't call that court packing, if you just say, I think what happened to Merrick Garland was a violation of norms that was terrible, but I don't think it's court packing, then you're going to have a difficult time saying, therefore, that justifies court packing. Because you're going to say, well, that's way different, and that's way more damaging. So Pisco has to be like, okay, then I'm just going to subjectively call what happened to Merrick Garland court packing. How so? Well, it's any injurious violation of norms that changes the composition of the court. Okay. What about what happened to Bork? And if you don't know, what happened to Justice Bork was he was this eminently qualified guy that was an originalist, a very, I don't know what the word to use for him. Seemed like a very quiet man, like an air of professionalism about him. And he absolutely got shredded in the late 80s. Not because, like, some crazy scandal, he was caught with hookers or some shit. Not because he faked his law school exams, he had scandalous decisions. It was literally just because we don't like your politics. By the way, this is one area that I think Ryan could have done better, unless I'm misunderstanding something. When Pisco says that's not a violation of norms because, like, Franklin Roosevelt appointed people for political reasons, of course, Ryan's correct to say, FDR also tried to pack the court, which is true and a fine answer. But I think the better answer is, well, of course, the president's appointing or certainly appointing people for political reasons. Of course. What we're talking about, what was the norm violation, was the Senate's role. And if you go back, like, it would shock you. Like, I'll even see if I could. Let's see if I can find this. Ryan brings it up. It's like it used to be when it was confirmation for Supreme Court justices, like almost everyone was like 90 to 10, 95 to 5, 98 to 2. It was just voice vote or unanimous consent. It wasn't even a big deal. All they were checking was like, is this dude qualified? Oh yeah, his law degree looks good. Yep, he's been a circuit judge for a lot of years. Been respectable. His colleagues seem to think he was professional. Yep, sounds good. Voice vote. Yep. So a lot of them don't even have numbers because they were just voice votes. High 60s. It was often 80 to 100% support. Post Bork. Well, look what happened with Kavanaugh. Look what happened with Clarence Thomas. Thomas was 52-48. Ginsburg 96-3. You see, when a Democrat nominates someone, they get overwhelming support. Breyer by Clinton 87-9. Roberts was 78-22. Now look at recently. Alito 58-42. Sotomayor 68-31. Again, Democrat nominated. Stevens 63-37. Still lower, but still a Democrat. Gorsuch 54-45. Kavanaugh 50-48. Amy Coney Barrett 52-48. Ketanji Brown Jackson 53-47. The norms were overwhelmingly violated. And people know this. They know what borking is. So if you're going to change the definition of court packing to be, I think anytime there was a violation of norms that changed the makeup of the court, the composition of the court, okay, why doesn't that apply to Bork? Well, I just don't feel that that's a norm violation. That's right. I saw that our good friend Zero Fucks. Yes, I talked about this on Law and Order one day. Zero Fucks did make a good graph of this. It's crazy. And by the way, it's not just Supreme Court nominees. It's also other judge confirmations. In other words, there was a radical change. It became politicized. That was the nature of what happened with Bork and then Clarence Thomas following. It was a radical change in norms. Pisco's just like, I don't feel that that's, no, I don't feel that that's norms. Now we have to, okay, so because Pisco changed the definition of court packing to something that no one really does, because he changed the definition in premise 2 there, then we're like, okay, define court packing. And he says, well, an injurious to one party that violates norms and changes the composition of court. Now he has to define norms in a way that's unique to him in order for this premise to still fly. Then he has to change the definition of composition. No. Changing the composition only means that one party didn't get to appoint their person. Why? If we have to put in Milquetoast Kennedy, who allowed Roe v. Wade to stand, who allowed gay marriage and all this other terrible shit, and take out an amazing originalist in Bork, the change of the composition isn't the R or D next to their name. The change in the composition is changing the philosophy of the court, which you did by keeping Bork out. So now he has to change the definition of court packing. He has to change the definition of composition. He has to change the definition of norms, or at least say that certain things meet or don't meet it. And it's all subjective. All of this is subjective. Why his definition of court packing? Subjective. Why his definition of norms? Subjective. Why his definition of composition? Subjective. Just because I feel like it. And that justifies packing the fucking court. Now, by the same token, why can't Ryan say, okay, I define what happened to Bork as court packing. I say that was court packing. I say it was a violation of norms, and it did alter the composition. So we're at a standstill. We disagree. Pisco kept saying, he even said this at one point in the debate, okay, who cares? That's what I believe. Okay? So therefore it justifies to him court packing. Okay, let's go through this again. Now, if Ryan believes that what happened to Bork was court packing, let's go through this. Ryan believes what happened to Bork was an injurious partisan Supreme Court packing. Okay? That's the only change. Ryan also believes there's no effective way to reverse it without court packing. Pisco would agree. And the proposed reciprocal packing doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. Keeping Garland off the court didn't overshoot, just one justice, just mild deterrence. And there's no reason to expect severe consequence cascade. Same thing Ryan would say. No reason to suspect that. Then the injured party, in this part, the Republicans, because Bork was the victim of court packing, it's justified in reciprocal expansion of the Supreme Court. So Republicans would be justified not just in doing what they did to Merrick Garland, but also expanding the Supreme Court. And he kept saying, no, that doesn't apply. The rest of the syllogism wouldn't apply. Why not? All that matters is premise 2. If we say Bork meets the definition of premise 2, then premise 3, 4, 5, and 6 follow. There's no reason that there would be any substantive difference. Premise 3, there's no effective way to reverse it without court packing. How so? 1, it depends on how you define court packing, right? For example, it is entirely plausible that Democrats could win. Anyone disagree with this? Is it possible that Democrats could win the House and the Senate in the midterms? Is that possible? It's not far-fetched. The Senate's going to be a little tougher. Certainly looks like they'll win the House. Anyone disagree? Is that, or agree or disagree? It's possible that Democrats could win the House and Senate in midterms. That's not an outlandish belief, correct? This isn't like I'm suggesting that, aliens come to Earth and take over our, Okay, well, if that's a possibility, which it certainly is, it's not outlandish. Is it also possible that we're going to have a justice retire from 2026 to 2028? Is that possible? Maybe Clarence Thomas? That's possible, right? The supermajority part is irrelevant to this. You keep getting hung up on that. Irrelevant. No one is suggesting that Democrats are going to win 80 seats and be able to shove through more justices on their own. The plan is to win the Senate and the House, then win the presidency and pack the courts. Okay, well, if those two things are possible, there you go. There's your remedy to court packing. They could do the exact same thing to Trump what the Republicans did to Obama. Same thing. Democrats win the House and Senate. Clarence Thomas retires. Trump says, I'd like to appoint Ted Cruz to the Supreme Court. Democrats proudly announce, nah, dog, that shit ain't happening. We're not going to confirm anyone until the 2028 election. Same thing. There. You just remedied it. The exact same thing. You did the same thing. So what do you mean there's no way to reverse it without court packing? If your argument is, well, the damage is already done, okay, same with Bork. And who's to determine what a remedy is? Because keep in mind, as we'll get to later here, now if we move to premise 4, the proposed reciprocal packing doesn't overshoot beyond mild deterrence. What does that mean? Who determines what's mild deterrence? Someone explain to me the deterrence factor in adding seats to the court. Can someone explain that to me? Deterrence means an incentive to not do it anymore. So Pisco's like, what happened with Merrick Garland was court packing. So the Democrats should add seats. And to the extent that goes beyond what happened to Merrick Garland, well, that's just deterrence. So in order for his premise to be true, he has to win that the overshoot is just mild deterrence. But it's not deterrence at all. It will incentivize more shit like this. There is zero chance that if Democrats decide to add even one Supreme Court justice, that Republicans aren't going to be incentivized to do the same and do other shit. That's not deterrence. That's the opposite of deterrence. Furthermore, and gets to Ryan's strategy of saying, Pisco, this isn't what Democrats are suggesting. And in fact, you're willing to support adding as many as 4 justices, and maybe more, if you ask Pisco. How is that not overshooting beyond deterrence? Pisco's arguing this isn't partisan. It's not partisan. One party was aggrieved, this is about justice. Well, justice is about making you whole, making things right, balancing the scales. So Pisco's argument, I could maybe believe him if his argument was, I could accept adding up to 2 justices if I was Democrats. And he could say, because mathematically, we lost 1 Democrat justice in Merrick Garland, and we gained 1 in Gorsuch. So that's a 2-vote swing for the Republicans. So we had 2 votes to even it out. But then how could he not condemn adding more than 2? But at that point, that's beyond justice court packing, which he says is horrible and justifies the other side doing it back. There is no explanation he could give. If I debate him on this, what he'll say is, well, it's sort of a deterrence. But you know it's not a deterrence. He's okay with it because it's his side. That's all it is. If you were outside and you didn't give a shit about Republicans and Democrats and you bought every fucking thing Pisco was saying, the best you could come up with is, okay, Democrats get to add 2. Not 4. So the fact that Pisco's like, not only will he not condemn adding 4, but he's like, yeah, actually, I endorse it. I think it's good. That shows that this isn't about reciprocation. And notice how he puts that. He keeps saying that term. Justified in reciprocal expansion. Then he makes the argument, premise 5. There's no reason to expect a severe consequence cascade. I mean, that's self-defeating. Think of this argument. Pisco's argument is what happened to Merrick Garland was court packing. Now imagine if I was arguing with Pisco back then. And Pisco said, Rob, listen, man, if you do this, Democrats are eventually going to be pissed and try to do something in retaliation. They're going to hold up judges when they get into the Senate. They'll use the blue slip rule. They'll do this. They'll do that. And I was like, there's no evidence of that. There's no evidence this will lead to a cascade of shit. You want to know what the answer is? Pisco gives the answer to his own premise and disproves it. You know how I know there'll be a cascade of shit? Because right now, the Democrats are suggesting packing the court. He says, point to history where this is likely to happen. Dude, you're right now suggesting packing the court to get back at the other side. That's the proof. Why wouldn't Republicans do the same thing? How do I know Republicans will say, fuck you, you pack the court, we're going to pack the court? Because Democrats are making up shit, saying Republicans pack the court and saying, therefore, that justifies us packing the court. If Merrick Garland, which you have to like jump through the most insane hoops ever to say what happened to him was court packing, but if that was enough to suggest actual court packing and adding seats, then you know what'll be enough to justify Republicans doing that? Actual fucking court packing and adding seats. In many ways, as bad as all of Pisco's arguments are, in many ways, that's the most silly. He makes this argument, he says, Republicans are already, and the idea that they would do this, they're already shitty. They'll already do as much as possible. Okay, then why haven't they packed the court? You don't think Trump's pissed that the Supreme Court ruled against him on tariffs? Other than immigration, I would say that tariffs were his biggest policy that he was pushing for early in his administration. Supreme Court shut it down. He's furious. If Trump's really the tyrannical asshole that'll do anything no matter what, wouldn't he be like, all right, fuck it, we're adding 4 seats? I haven't heard Trump suggest that. I haven't heard anyone in Trump's administration suggest that. I haven't heard any Republicans in the Senate suggest that. I don't even hear blowhards like me, pundits suggesting that. Pisco wants you to believe that these two things are true. Republicans are these tyrannical, shitty people, and the status quo is fucking horrible because of it. But if they pack the court, Republicans won't retaliate. That's what he wants you to believe. These insane, bloodthirsty, tyrannical cheats that'll do anything possible to violate norms to win wouldn't respond to court packing by court packing. So he tries to make that argument, which is laughable, and then he's like, well, I just don't think it would be worse than the status quo. Excuse me? What's so bad about the status quo? And if you listen to him, and he didn't get to it tonight, he's like, well, polling suggests that the favorability of the Senate, or of the courts, is at all-time lows. Well, it's interesting. It's all in how you look at the polls. But okay, so we're going to radically, in an unprecedented way, pack the court because of polls? What does polling say about Democrats' approval in Congress? Can we get rid of all them fuckers too? I believe they're at 20%. That's lower than the Supreme Court's polling. So can we get rid of all those fuckers? Fuck it. Right? Imagine Harry Reid's role. Remember? That said, oh, we only need 50 votes to confirm all these judges. All these people told them, like, be careful what you do, because Republicans are going to do this shit. They're going to do it. And then Republicans not only embraced that, but said, hey, if it's good for circuit courts, why not the Supreme Court? There's no logical reason why it wouldn't be. Now, you can imagine Pisco sitting right there with Harry Reid when Harry Reid was like, yeah, we're going to end the filibuster. Only 50 votes necessary. And Pisco would have been there and said, there's not going to be a cascade of consequences because of this. Nope. Nothing will happen. Trust me. And then when it happened, Pisco and Harry Reid would go, this is outrageous. How could this have happened? The truth is, and Ryan was correct to point it out, now I went through the syllogism. I would be happy to have Pisco on, and he would probably come on at some point. I'll talk about a syllogism with him. I don't care. It's fine by me. But the strategy Ryan employs, although I could nitpick and say, I think he gives away too much saying I don't give a shit about the prompt, because I think his argument is a solid reading of the prompt, which is if the question is expanding the court, seeing as how I specifically told you I'm not interested in just talking about expanding it one seat, the logical inference is we're talking about the actual plans that have been put forth of expanding the court. Let me go back to something here. How did Modern Day Debate title this video? We'll assume that's the prompt. The Democrats are justified in expanding the Supreme Court. Okay. Yeah, I agree. That was the biggest mistake Ryan made, saying I don't give a shit about the prompt. Because what it'll do is the people that are not really paying attention to what's going on might just say, oh, this guy just said he doesn't give a shit about a fair debate. And I think that first 20 minutes, Ryan could have done a better job. Once they started to get into it, and he was actually reading the quotes from Pisco and stuff, then the strategy became clear. And I knew that's what he was doing, but I understand people that were just watching originally that might have been like, wait a minute, is this guy just blatantly saying I refuse to debate the prompt? That's fucked up. So I think all Ryan had to say was like, look, we had a specific exchange where you said you wanted to debate, should we add one seat? I said no. I'll debate you on should we expand, and you can take that prompt any way you want. I take it as what your real position is and what the Democrats' position is, which is expanding more than one. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And if you're unwilling to defend your actual positions that I've heard you advocate, but we could all take that as an example of they're indefensible. Now, I'll also argue that we shouldn't add just one seat. But the thrust of this debate is me reminding the audience, this guy his belief isn't adding just one seat. Imagine that some guys, here's another analogy. Imagine that some guy's streaming and he's like, hey, Rob's got a really badass, what's my wife's, I think it's a Suzuki SSX. A 2009 little rice-furnished car. But say it, I have a picture of it. I'm like, here's my new baby. Cost me $4,000. My Suzuki, some rust spots on the bottom. Great car. And let's say Pisco's watching that stream where I talk about it. And he goes, oh, man, I'm going to fucking steal that car from Rob. I'm going to steal it. Right? And he announces it on stream. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then Pisco's like, hey, Rob, I'd like to debate you on, I should take your car to the car wash. You should give me your keys and let me take your car to the car wash. And I'm like, nah, man, you want to steal my fucking car. You announced you wanted to steal my car. I'm not going to fucking give you the keys. No, that's not the debate here. The debate's just, your car looks a little dirty. It could use washed. And I'm a competent driver. I have my driver's license. So why shouldn't I be allowed to take your car to the wash? And I'm like, because you told me you're going to steal it. That's irrelevant to this discussion about whether or not I should be able to take your car to the wash, right? That's irrelevant. Why are you bringing it? Why are you slandering me with all this shit? Because it's relevant knowing what your intent and motivations are. So I think Ryan does make a mistake. I don't think it hurts him by the end of the debate, but halfway through the debate, I'll admit, I can understand the frustration on Pisco's part and the mods. Like, what are we doing here? There was no need for Ryan, in my opinion, to just say, I don't give a shit about the prompt. Because it gives the impression, like I said, that Ryan was arguing like, hey man, you're a bad person. You did this bad thing. You stole from a gas station. And Pisco's like, what the fuck's that have to do with the prompt? That's not what was happening. Ryan was saying, I'm actually talking about what you really believe about packing the court and what the real consequences of it are. In fact, Ryan could have even made the argument, one of the reasons it's bad to add one seat is because people like you will use that to justify adding more. We already see it happening. So that's part of the cascading of consequences. Tucker Nuts, $10, says, this has nothing to do with the discussion, but I don't know if I'm ready to move on from you beating up Brian Shaprio. Brian Shaprio? Wow. I'd be remiss if we have a Brian Shaprio mentioned enough.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shaprio.
Yay! Thanks so much. Fedor, what's up, man? It's been a minute. Thanks for the 5, says Ryan sent us. This better not suck. My girlfriend was going to braid the hair on my back, but I'm here. I hope it didn't suck so far. Thanks, Fedor. Jefferson, $2, says, it's the J6 insurrection versus peaceful protest frame. Yep. Jefferson, again, $2, says, justice nominees eschewed hypotheticals post-Bork. Yep. Norms were violated. Jefferson, again, $2, says, because hairs on Coke cans are a norm in the law. Clarence Thomas, yeah. Fucked up what they did to him. And same with Kavanaugh. They violate norms every time. Psycher Carrick, $5, says, if you ask Pisco if packing the SCOTUS to 13 was 50-50 chance of Dems get power forever or civil war, would he roll those dice? What about the Dems at large? Yes, they would. Jefferson, $2, says, Cold War deterrence was not launching the ICBMs. Right. We're going to launch the weapon. We're going to launch the missile to deter other countries from launching the missile. FDNY, $2, says, because they habitually short-sighted, Rob. Yep. And Bat Fricker, $10, says, please let me watch your pizza. I'm a normal person, can be trusted not to eat your pepperonis. Yes. I don't believe you. Beakster, $50 over on Rumble, says, Rob, show your fallacy. By the way, for your tired PC, thank you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate that, man. And then Lone Wolf and Cub, $2, says, Brian cut the PS and stuck right in the heart. Yep. And the audience got it. They did. Oh, my man, Casimir. Holy shit, I hope you're doing good, man. It's been a while since we talked. Casimir, I don't know. I would say my favorite ANCAP, my favorite real libertarian. Says, amen, Rob. I deeply enjoyed watching Pisco gets bludgeoned by blood sports, but enjoyed even more once he got thrashed on historical facts in the third act. Exactly. And I know that Ryan was setting up. One of the things that happens, it's so hard to manage your time in a debate. It's so hard. First off, most of the time I enter an online debate, I don't have a fucking clue what the actual time frame is. I always ask the mod before the debate, are we planning on going for like an hour or 2 hours? Because it does affect your strategy. By the way, this is true for all of you that ever debate, and it even makes sense outside the world of like online debates. So I've told this story. I was consulting with a candidate for governor here in Pennsylvania, and he was doing this debate, and there was literally like 13 or 14 people that were going to be on the stage. And the first thing I'm asking him is like, okay, how long's the debate? I don't know. Like, you don't know. How many people exactly are going to be on stage? I don't know. So I got those details. And I think we figured that it was going to be an hour and a half debate with 13 people on stage, and they each got like a 2-minute introduction. Okay? Now, you do the math. 2 minutes, 13 people, that's 26 minutes. If it's smooth back to back, which it never is, people go over time, there's space in between for introduction and stuff, so you're actually looking at probably 40 minutes. Then you got 50 minutes left for the debate for 13 people. Now, again, the moderator is going to talk. So let's be generous and shave that 50 minutes down to 45 minutes for 13 people. Let's assume that everyone gets an equal share of that time. Now you're talking what? 4 minutes apiece? That matters. Knowing that matters. Right? Are you going to get into a highly sophisticated argument in 4 minutes? No. What you want to do is say, what is my purpose in this debate? If you have a crowd that's that big with limited time, you want to stand out. You want clarity. You want the audience to go, I know what that guy's about. And so I asked the candidate, I said, what's your big issue? And his big issue was energy in Pennsylvania, like fracking, and 0% income tax in Pennsylvania. I said, okay, every question they ask you, you're going to have 30 seconds to a minute to answer. Every single question, every one, you have to be talking about zero impact income tax and energy production. And they were like, well, his team was like, give some examples. I'm like, let's say the question is, post George Floyd, there's been a lot of discussion, particularly in areas like Philadelphia, of violent confrontations between members of the black community and police. What would you do to make sure that these police officers that engage in unlawful activity are held accountable and to repair the relationships between law enforcement and the black community? And I was like, your answer should be something like this. Certainly, it's something worth talking about. Our men and women in blue are tremendous, and they actually deserve more credit than they get. However, there could always be bad apples, and we need to do our best to make sure that they're being held accountable because we need the best of the best in these situations. One of the ways we could repair this is by having zero income tax and the energy production jobs that are going to be brought in. These will disproportionately help people in these inner city communities that have been kept out by regulation and forced to go into things like higher education. Now they'll be able to get right in the workforce, have these high-paying jobs, and be able to live with the security that all of us deserve. That's it. You answer the question, but tailor it in a way that makes sense for your central issue. Now, if you're having a one-on-one 2-hour debate, clearly you could talk about more things. But you have to know exactly what your time frame is going to be. In this case, they have an hour of back and forth debates, right? And I think that there was a bit of mismanagement of time on Ryan's part, where I think that the blood sport stuff that he's doing at the beginning went about a half an hour, and I think he could have accomplished that in probably 12 to 15 minutes. Got the point home, and then been like, all right, dude, now let's go to what you've said. So, but I do that. It's easy to not debate and say, oh, this is what I would have done. When you're in there, it's different. But that's what I would have liked. I thought that Ryan belabored the point a little too long. I took some notes, and that was one of the things I told myself was like, I think Ryan made a mistake saying I don't give a shit about the prompt, and I think Ryan's on this line of attack too long, right? Because the impression that one started to get was Ryan knows he'll lose the prompt. He knows that the premises that Pisco has outlined are unassailable. And so now he's just going to be like, yeah, but I'm not going to talk about that, which was not the case. As you saw once they got into it and like, well, what is court packing? Let's look what happened to Bork. What do you mean there won't be a cascade? Here's your quotes. And I'm absolutely convinced that Ryan could have went another 2 hours on all of those premises, just like I could have. Thanks, Cy Bennett. I appreciate it, man. I really do. So that would be the two big notes I would give. If I was giving notes to Pisco, it would be this. I think think he would be in a stronger position if he just said, yeah, okay, man, it's not necessary for me to argue 4 seats being added to win this debate. And so I just want to make it clear to everyone that you're running from the actual idea that it's sufficient for me to win 1 seat added. But sure, I'll argue the 4 seats as well, just as long as you acknowledge that this is you running from the fact. But for him to just be like, no, that's effective. Pisco's strategy is effective if Ryan didn't have the proof that Pisco has endorsed the 4 seats. But again, what's Pisco's agenda here? Pisco's agenda, first and foremost, is to win the debate as narrowly tailored as possible. And that's one, because he wants to win the debate, right, and the prompt for his audience. But the other grand strategy, and you got to give Pisco this, he is someone that is thinking about, well, what, he's like me. He's thinking, what's my message that people may hear that'll convince them on how to vote? And Pisco knows it's a real uphill battle for the Democrats to argue to pack the court. That's why James Carville said, don't run on it, don't talk about it, because he knows it's not popular. In fact, I don't know if there's polling on this. But my guess is it would be very low popularity. A lot of Democrats are going to say yes, but independents and Republicans are. I'm looking, could be total bullshit. I've just grokked it. It says, latest poll was a G. Elliott Morris poll in February 2026 that said only 39 support expanding the court. YouGov July 2025 poll, Democrats plus 29 for support expanding, Republicans net negative 51. So part of his argument is, well, the popularity of the court. Okay, it's very unpopular to pack the court. And by the way, the popularity wouldn't matter anyways. But if he's the one who's going to bring that metric in, so but all in all, I thought it was a very good appearance by Ryan, with some little things that I thought strategically he could have done a little better. What you all think? I mean, the audience on Modern Day Debate, there was like 500 people watching. 84% of them thought that Ryan won. I did check the audience polling on Pisco's. It was about the same that thought Pisco won, but there's far less people that voted. Yeah, and I think that not only did Pisco get mad towards the end, correct me if I'm wrong, don't you think Pisco looked worse as the debate went on? Which sort of validates what I was saying, that if Ryan would have moved on after like 10 to 15 minutes, once you got into the second half of the debate, Pisco looked worse. And I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought he would have more. I'm sort of shocked. I mean, basically, he's just like, well, words are subjective. I could call court packing what I want. Okay. The other argument that Ryan, I haven't talked about this, but you know, it's a big concession for Pisco. It's a big mistake. The fact that this is put in the framing of self-defense, neutral self-defense argument for court packing. It's a big mistake to title it that way, right? Because Ryan correctly picks up on that and says, okay, but self-defense in a legal context doesn't have to mean after you're injured, right? You could be proactive in your self-defense. Yeah, he's forced to admit. He just says that shouldn't apply here. Why not? And Pisco thinks he's on to something here, but he actually has it invertedly. Because he's like, all right, right now, Ryan, are you going to answer? Are you going to answer? Oh, but before I get to that, there's one other thing. This is a part of us saying, I have to be clear. I don't know if I said this, but it's like FDR. I did say this. FDR, when they were like, well, he appointed justices for partisan reasons. Well, the answer is like, yeah, but that doesn't mean the Senate advised to consent for partisan reasons, which is why it was almost always like 90-10, because it wasn't partisan. It was pretty much bipartisan acceptance. Anyways, where was I at? The idea of self-defense. If we accept legally, self-defense could be proactive, and the Democrats like, yeah, we're going to pack the court, we're going to end the filibuster, then why shouldn't the Republicans do it preemptively? See, the whole problem, the whole premise with this is what's funny. If you go down to premise 5, there's no reason to expect severe consequence cascade. Well, here's the overall problem, and it goes to this problem here of self-defense. It goes to the same thing. The problem is, especially when Pisco's like, well, it turns out that, there's a problem with objective meaning of words. Well, if you take that to its logical extension, it's not just the objective meaning of words, it's also the objective or the subjective feeling that people have. Pisco's sort of flirting in two different worlds. He's saying, look, there is no real thing as objective when it comes to sort of this shit. But I'm going to outline to me why it looks like Democrats were injured, why I call that court packing, and why that justifies the following occurring. Okay, but what if we say the same thing? We think what happened to Bork was court packing. He's like, well, I disagree. Okay, but subjectively we feel like that. So should we pack the court? You might say, no, not from my perspective. But if your argument's true, it's not the objective perspective or your perspective that matters. It's the Republican perspective. If they feel that they're being attacked, then they would be justified. To them, it would make sense logically for them to do this. Right? Is there going to be a cascading effect? Subjectively, Republicans will feel justified. You might say, yeah, but they won't be. But that's not how they'll feel. And they're the ones that'll do the cascading effect. Stop spurging out over Tony. He's a good guy. What are you talking about? Who? Where am I spurging out over Tony? And like I said, this is always the case with Pisco. It's always justified. And he even makes this argument, which is laughable. When he says the Democrat justices that voted against keeping Trump off the ballot were wrong, he goes, that proves I'm nonpartisan because I disagreed with the Democrat justices. Right! When they weren't attacking Trump. The one time they're not attacking Trump, you're like, see, I'm nonpartisan because I think they should attack Trump. Do you see the stupidity of this? Again, as I said to Ryan, I've debated Pisco on this. He'll sit there and tell you with a straight face, no, I don't think Trump being president or the political opposition had anything to do with why Alvin Bragg or Letitia James or Fannie Willis. Nope. Trump's position, it had nothing to do with him, anything to do with politics. Now everybody knows that's a fucking lie. Everyone. So, all right, well, that's the debate review. Any specific questions anyone has? Excuse me. Coach Mim sucks. You met Fishback today? His wife accidentally hit your friend in the nuts with the purse. Maybe that's an endorsement. Maybe your friend had it going. I actually did a show with James Fishback once, and I really enjoyed the show. Matt Flynn, $10 says, sorry, blew all my super chat money on Ryan after he destroyed Pisco. Wait, damn it. Oh, thank you, man. Ryan deserves it. He did great. Caleb, I missed it, Caleb. Did you super chat it or not? I'm sorry, I don't get to all the chats. The super chats obviously stand out. No prep debate canceled because Speakeasy's got like his 10,000 sub event going on. So we're going to do it next week, I think. And it's all my fault. I misread a message. I thought Speakeasy sent me a message and I thought he was saying, is it okay if it's part of the celebration? And I was like, sure. And then when I messaged him today, I was like, dude, my computer, I don't know. I'll try. And he's like, oh, didn't you get my message? And I was like, oh. When I reread it, he was saying, can we put it off till next week? Yes, absolutely. So, but yeah, I'll be happy to talk to Pisco about this debate and go further with him. I don't have a problem with that. Not at all. But it's an important topic to keep hammering home. I think people need to see just how tyrannical these people are. Like, not only, think of what Pisco's now saying, right? Pack the court, including up to 4 seats. Make D.C. a state. Make Puerto Rico a state. End the filibuster. Pisco's on there. Now you're even seeing Democrats go against Graham Plattner. You know, Mr. Totem Kampf tattoo, all the crazy shit he said. Pisco's got post out, vote blue no matter who. Doesn't matter. So he's willing to vote for that guy. It's literally just, he won't tell you the truth. It's just, yeah, do all this shit because Republicans are evil. So we have to do everything. Everything. Keep them out of power. That's it. But he won't say it. He might say it in his channel. He might say it when he's talking to lefties. But when he's doing a debate like this, he'll go, I don't want to talk about what I really believe. I don't want to talk about that. I just want to talk about the narrowly tailored. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's, Pisco, conservative, or I'm conservative. That's the sort of shit. It's like, okay, man. Like, it makes him rightfully look like a joke. I'm scrolling up, Caleb. I'm trying to see if I can find your comment. Almost think we should just ignore the postmodernist thinkers. I can't find it. I'm sorry, dude. Well, no, Xphobic. It's not one. There are a lot of people that maybe don't like Trump or things like that and need to be convinced of just how bad the Democrats are. Secondly, you yourself are in the camp that you're voting for Democrats. So I think it's good to show just how deranged they are and who you're giving power to. I think that's more of a black pill, that someone like you says it's a black pill that we need to convince that Democrats are tyrannical, and yet you're voting for them. That, to me, is the real black pill, in my opinion. And I guess it's worth saying this one last thing. Pisco and all these guys, remember, all of them looked you straight in the face and said they didn't see evidence of Joe Biden's cognitive decline. They didn't see it. They're just liars. They'll lie right to your fucking face. Destiny said as much. He said, yeah, I'll lie, whatever. Well, I can't believe that we're approaching the end of the evening here, and it looks like my computer made it, which I'm shocked. So we're going to try to stream. I'll probably try to stream tomorrow night unless my computer's shitting the bed. Now, my man Avarice supposedly built me a computer, and he's going to send it. I said, first of all, I was hearing from Ryan was emotional appeals, but then it went deeper than that. Pisco had nothing. Really threw him off. Yeah. Yeah. Mangozy, what's up, my man? $10 says, I'm a simple man. If court packing starts, I'm sure it won't cascade. China eventually scaled back from the high of 642 in 2017 to a svelte 400 today. And sarcasm. Yeah. That's true. He might actually appear sharp, according to Pisco. Beakster, $20 says, whip songs? Yeah, fuck it. Though I don't owe any yet. If I add all the Rumble chats together, I'm almost at 100. We're only $30 away from one on Rumble, if we add them all together. Over here on YouTube, I don't think we have any. But sure, if people want. Whip songs from last night. I don't remember how many there were. Buy a MacBook. Don't worry about Avarice's bill. Well, we'll see what's up. Avarice told me that they shipped it out today. So, at least 100 whip songs from last night. Maybe. Yes, you bastards. There we go. Beakster. By the way, Rumble killing you guys over on YouTube. Another $30 says whip songs. All right, fuck it. Scuzzlebot, $2 says, Rob, I appreciate you trying to find my rant the other night, even if it was unsuccessful. I had to run, but watch the rest later. Respect. I'm so sorry, man. So what happened? If I can explain something. So my editor, Black Elk, talked to me once and was like, listen, let's say I'm doing a big thing, right? Where it's like, okay, here's what Joe Biden said tonight, and I have like this 30-minute rant about it. That would be great to just clip and put that 30-minute rant. But then every 4 minutes, I'm like, and I can't believe Biden said, and John Smith, by the way, thanks for the $5. And my editor was like, instead, what you should do is finish your thought, go like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, then read super chats. And so what happens is if I'm, the other night it was even worse because I was actually reviewing a debate, and part of what I was doing, and I'm going to do more of this, is I wasn't interacting with the chat at all until the debate review was done. And so what happened was I missed a bunch of super chat. I missed Scuzzlepot's super chat. I think that was the only one. Because for some reason on Rumble, it doesn't give me all of them. It only goes up so long in the past. But, so I do apologize for them, and I really do. All right. I have one whip song. One. If you don't know, stupid, there's all these whip songs from this movie, Lord of the Rings cartoon. They suck. We made a bunch of different versions. If you donate $100, we play a whip song. Anytime we get over $100 amount from here on in the night in YouTube, so if we get to 200, that'll be a whip song. So if you donate $28, we'll spin this wheel. If you donate $100, we'll spin 2. Right? $150 means you can pick one specifically. $200 means we create a new song, though. They're trying to crack down on me. All right. Whoopee. My computer will probably crash. I hate this computer, I do, but if it does crash during whip songs, that would be merciful. Oh, now look at the wolf criers. All the people that lie to me all the time about how many whip songs I owe. Lavin, take it easy, man. All the people. All those people that lie to me, now they're like, trust me, bro. Trust me. Maybe this is why you don't cry wolf. Maybe. We'll see here. Blasterbot. Oh, this month's Chad of the Month. Give it up to Blasterbot. Also, we need you to give us a song style, Blasterbot, to make a Chad of the Month song for you. $100. That's watching this debate. It's like watching Dilophosaurus versus Microceratus. Still great to see how Ryan went hard on Pisco. Packing the courts would be a terrible decision that we'll have already talked extensively on. Some more spins for the wheel. Yeah, that'll be 2 spins. Thank you. But Blasterbutt, you have to give me a. We'll do that tonight as well. We owe Blasterbutt. He's the Chad of the month, but he left before he won. So he gave a big donation and then left, and no one donated after him. So he was the winner. And normally the winner gets a song made in their honor of their style, but he didn't give us one. So Truth Revolt, $10 says, I didn't hear no bell when it comes to listening to whip song. Yeah, you psychopaths. All right. I'll assume there were 6 from last night. So I owe 7, plus then 2 from Blasterbutt, which is 9, which I hate. Thank you to all of you that are leaving. This is the worst part of the show. Sorry about that. I'll play 9 of these dumb shits and then, wrong button. What are we doing? Unless my computer died, there's nothing I can do about that. All right.
There's a way. Well, there's a way. There's a way. Says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a way.
What?
There's a way. Where there's a way. There's a way. Where there's a way. There's a way. Where there's a way. There's a way. Crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more, for we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war.
All right. Forgive me. Give me 1 minute. I have to watch something and make sure it's TOS friendly, and then I might show you a video. So give me a second. You can stare at my handsome face while I read or watch this for a second. Oh my God. What the fuck? All right, here we go. Apparently, This is Conor talking about Destiny. Conor, oh my fucking God. Conor and Destiny had a falling out. And apparently, one of the things Conor had said was that there was this guy that reached out to Conor, or reached out to people on X, and Conor messaged him, DM'd, and they had a conversation and was like, yeah, Destiny's sexting my wife and they're doing weird age play shit. And so Conor read a letter that he sent to Destiny in November that was like, hey man, you're fucking shit up. This is gross. Here is Conor's explanation talking to that guy today of what happened.
And you said that they role played as step parents, that Stephen received pictures of your children that were not in a sexual context, but he still knew what they looked like. They role played stepmom, stepdad sexual fantasies in which the children were being molested. And then they also role played as the teenagers themselves engaging in an underage sexual tryst. And that was so fucking disturbing to you that you wished you could destroy the online personal and professional reputation of Destiny. That's what you told me in November. So is that accurate or not?
At the time, I definitely did want to destroy the online personal reputation of Destiny. This is true. Yeah.
Okay. And was my description of what you told me in November accurate or no?
I don't remember if I said exactly like that. Like I said, I'd have to pull it up. But I was pissed. I pretty much just told you generally what she told me. Who knows? Like I said, I really need to go back and look at it. It's been so long. I'm trying to move past it, trying to get my own shit going on, get my own thing together. But in terms of, like I said, you got the locks. I don't even know why you need me, to be honest. So I don't really personally want to get into too many details. I just wanted to come on to kind of clarify a few things that, like, there was no Telegram group. I keep hearing about this Telegram group. That was a joke that went too far because me and her were arguing and fighting about Destiny.
So there's only two ways to look at this. This is very curious. First off, I don't know how you'd forget something like that. So right out of the gate, I'm like, now wait a minute. So maybe this story is bullshit. But then he says, Conor, you have the logs. And Conor says, I do. Basically saying it in an affirming state, like, yeah, this is the shit that was said. Now, let me be clear. I don't think that this is proof that Destiny did that. I don't. This could all be made up bullshit. However, if he did that shit, that is beyond the fucking pale. That's out of control. If you are getting pictures of, I assume, teenagers, of a woman you're flirting with, children, and then sexually role-playing about assaulting those children, that's out of control. The only some of this shit, like, I'll be honest, like, Destiny filmed himself sleeping with a woman and she sent the pictures to someone and he sent the pictures to someone. That shit sucks, right? Fuck. But at some point you're just like, but this is a different level. That's a different level. If we think that, like, what they call, I don't even know if you could say it on YouTube, lolly, which is people into sexual pictures of animated children. If we say that's fucked up and gross, which we do, why wouldn't imagining assaulting underagers, seeing their picture, be just as bad, if not worse? I don't know. I just saw that and was like, what the fuck? Because I saw what the X post was, and I was like, no way it says that. It says it. So I think the only defense of this, and it may very well be absolutely 100% true, is for Destiny to say, that's bullshit. None of that happened. Bullshit. And I'm not willing to pass judgment on Destiny that it happened based on this clip of this guy who's like, seems mealy-mouthed. But this is the first thing that I've heard that I'm like, this is really bad. Like, there is no explanation. You could even have an explanation, but didn't you have nudes of a like 17-year-old girl? It's like, well, what were the circumstances? I'm not saying that's good, right? But was it like you didn't know she was 17, and then once you found out, you gave it to the authorities and shit? That's different. Still not saying good, but there would be nothing remotely defensible about that. Anyways, sorry to put that vile shit on you. Man, what a terrible, terrible. If that's true, man, that's terrible. And then it raises other questions, right? Like I have friends in the online space. Like, I'm friends with Andrew Wilson. If someone came to me and was like, look, this is what Andrew was doing with my wife, and gave that exact story, and I went to Andrew and was like, is this shit true? And Andrew was like, yeah, I wouldn't be friends with Andrew anymore. So what was Conor doing? If Conor believed this, why the fuck was he still buddies with Destiny up until like last week? Wouldn't that be enough for any normal person to be like, what the fuck? No. So it puts Conor in an interesting position. It's like, did you believe this dude? When he says you have the logs, do the logs show that? If they do, how the fuck were you still friends with Destiny? Yeah, that's what I said from the get-go, that my interest was like these orbiters. All of them like rest on their high horse, like, oh, we respect women and this and that. But you find out this shit happens, and then like all these orbiters are like, well, it's like, if you knew about this shit and were willing to accept it, don't fucking stand on your high horse now. Just be honest. All right. Anyways, sorry about that. Over on Rumble, Beakster, $100. Says more dino facts, please. That's not me. That's Blasterbot. Blasterbot, you also have to give me a version for your Chat of the Month song. Thank you, Beakster. All right, I owe 10 more of these ass songs, so I better get to work. What a fucking mess. What a mess that is. That's horrific. That's some fucking Chris Hansen shit. EDM. Okay. Truth Revolt, thanks for the $10, says, what's your personal hell? Democrat packed SCOTUS or listening to hours of whip songs? I envision a packed SCOTUS forcing me legally to listen to whip songs for free. That would be about it. All right. EDM. I don't remember this one. Oh, it's a long one. Great.
says we gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more, for we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. Where there's a web, there's a way. Where there's a web, there's a
Hey, who rated? Cool Vic. Let me say one last thing about this Destiny thing, because I don't know. Everyone should. It's one thing to say this allegation is heinous. I do not impugn Destiny with this because it could 100% be made up bullshit, right? It really could. But there are questions. If you're Conor and you believe this bullshit, why would you still be friends with Destiny? If you didn't, like, if you don't believe it, why would you be platforming it now? Like, that's risky. This is such a heinous accusation that before you go public with it, I would think that you would want to have a level of confidence, in my opinion. And so I'm just saying, if this is bullshit, I mean, that's a bridge burned between Conor and Destiny that'll never fucking repair, and rightfully so. The accusation was that Conor had a guy on that said that Destiny was sexting his wife, and that his wife sent photos of their non-adult children to Destiny, and then they sexually role-played about sexually assaulting those children. Now, the guy is like, yeah, that's what I don't remember if I said that or not. So it might just be bullshit. Maybe it was a guy that was just pissed off that Destiny was sexting his wife saying fucked up shit. I don't know. But you if it's true, it's horrific. It's beyond the pale. If it's not true, shame on whoever made that up. That's a horrible thing to make up. And I would not fucking platform someone making that accusation unless I had some level of confidence. And the fact that the guy that allegedly told Conor this is saying, I don't remember. It's probably bad form for Conor to even bring this up publicly. I don't know. I just don't know. That's right. You go to law enforcement with some shit like that, if it's true. So I don't know. So I am currently, no love lost to Destiny and me. I don't have to convince you all of that, right? But I'm not taking this as, yep, Destiny did this, until there's some level of proof. The guy says, Conor, you have the logs. So that means that the implication is Conor either has the logs of the conversation he had with this guy, and so he'll present them, or he has the logs of the conversations Destiny and this woman were having. Either way, Conor makes the claim and then nods when he says he had the logs, which implies to me that there's something there that Conor will be able to hang his hat on and say, see? Or Conor's just full of shit. So, I don't know. Anyways, I owe 9 more of these bullshitter songs. How's Cool Vic and his crew? What are you, what's Cool Vic call his crew? Are they the Vickers? Or are they the Coolsters? The Kool-Aid gang? I don't know. I'm a big Cool Vic fan, though. He's a good guy. Oh.
Where there's a whip,
The cool kids. The cool verse. Okay.
there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Yes.
We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more for. We are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Hey, I hate these whip songs. They're the worst. It's about respect. That's true. It is about respect. Cool Vic's got like his own private war. Oh, look at that shit. The same shit ass song. Everyone could be miserable with me. Cool Vic's got his own private war going with Brian Shaprio, and I love it, man. It's amazing. Scuzzlebutt, $2 over on Rumble says, where there's a boot, there's a cat. I got it. Fuck this song. Terrible.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more for. We are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Hey, all right, all right. This sucks. Oh, thanks, Scuzzlebutt. I get it. Yeah. Can it be 3 in a row? No. Why can't my computer blow up now?
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, today. The Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a way. There's a way. slaves of the Dark Lord's war. There's a way, there's a way.
I did. That's all me, baby.
Where there's a will,
I do. This is
There's a way.
my favorite one.
where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a will. Where there's a will, there's a way. Left, right, left, right, left. There's a way. Left, right,
Can I sing? I am the local karaoke champion. I'm so good at karaoke. The bar I used to live above, when the first night they did karaoke, this is probably 6 years ago, I blew the speakers out. We had to end the night because I was so damn good. I blew the speakers out singing Danzig. So yes, I could sing. Scott's about $1 says Deliverance vibes. If you listen closely, you can hear Brian Shapiro squealing like a pig. Come on, that wasn't Deliverance. But thank you, Annie. Beakster, $20 says, I think I hate myself. I'm playing Tarkov and listening to whip songs. Blasterbot, $20, or a member. Let's go with Dinosaur Blues for chat of the month. All right. Let's get that set up. I'll still play whip songs while we're... All right. We can at least get to the goal tonight. I'm playing all this shit basically for last night. I can't believe my computer's held up. It was real shitty all day today. Oh yeah, I'm quite the karaokester. Yeah. Oh.
Where there's a whip, where there's a whip, where there's a will, where there's a whip, where there's a will, where's a will. Wow, we don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the land. Where there's a whip, where there's a will, where there's a will, where there's a will. Where there's a will, there's a will.
Chop. $5 says I made a blast about picking general chat and Discord. Oh no shit! I'll have to check it out. All right, I owe 5 more plus Blasterbot song. You guys are killing me tonight. All right, here we go. Yay! I can't believe people still like this. It's so aggravating. Okay. Metal. I just don't get it. All right. Scuzzle, thanks for the buck. Says Rob getting whipped like he tried to escape the podcast plantation. Horrible. Why are we doing this? Why indeed? I could. Thank you. 10, 11. This is 8. We have 8. This will be 9. Oh, no! Just repeating them tonight. This is wonderful.
Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today. The Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a way. Says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. There's a way. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will. There's a way, where there's a will, there's a way. Left, right, left, right, left.
In case you're wondering, it's depressing. Scuzz about this whip shit's depressing. Scuzz about $1 says, Rob, you're trapped in the whip crystal. Yeah, no shit. Now we're playing the same songs. The insurrection continues in Newark tonight. I try to play clips, but I'm pretty sure my computer would crash. So I can't really watch the video. I'm just reading people talking about it. Absolute insanity. It's just terrible. When the fuck will these people be mass arrested? When will it happen? How many days? 100 riots? 200? 300? Gosh. All right. 2 more. Thanks, Coffee Cat Dude. Me neither. Oh, good. Everyone hates this one. The ones I like the most are the ones everyone hates now. So, like, not the wolf jazz shit. That shit sucks. But, like, this one. Everyone hates this. And I like that. I hope it pisses everyone off.
Where there's a way, there's a way. Where there's a way, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. Left, 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 left. Where there's a way, there's a way. Left, right, left. There's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
I hope you all hated that. I did. Truth Revolt, thank you again. $10. As a genie grants you one wish. Destiny goes the way of Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's sort of making a comeback, or you don't ever have to listen to whip songs. Which do you choose? I don't know. The whip songs do bring money in. So if all the money that would have came in for whip songs, but I don't have to listen to that, I guess I would choose that. I actually like Destiny being a vocal voice because it shows how extreme the Democrats are. I say fine. When he was working with Pisco and they were talking to like potential leaders of the DNC, I was like, great. That's great. Just play clips. Here's the guy, DNC guy talking to Destiny. Here's Destiny saying the worst thing that could happen was that bullet missing Trump. Simple. All conservatives should fear for their lives. There you go. So, Paradox, picks Paradox. $20 says oomph. Yeah, that's I'm feeling that oomph. Last one. Thank goodness. I don't know why these. I mean, they always suck, but today they're really weighing on me. I don't know what's going on. All right, here we go.
Where there's a way, where there's a way, where there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Well, there's a way, there's a way.
All right. Oh my goodness. All right, Blasterbutt, are you still here? Oh, you are still here. Fuck! Thank you. Go! Thank you. $100 says, because Xphobic really likes this segment, let's go for more spins, Rob. All right, before we do that, I can't believe these fucking songs are 8 minutes. So here's Blasterbutt's Chad of the Month song in the form of Dinosaur Blues. They're each 4 minutes, so Blasterbutt will have to pick which one he likes. Here's version 1. Let me know if you guys can hear it. You should be able to.
Tired, screams all dim. Then Blasterbutt rolled through my stream. He dropped them gifts like a summer rain. Made my old chat room feel brand new again. He said, check the bones, check the claw, check the trace. Had a T-Rex grin in a steady pace. Every big donation hit like a drum, and the whole room hollered, here he comes. He knew the names, he knew the dates. He knew what ate and who was great. From long necks tall to tiny teeth, he laid that history at our feet. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, king of the feed. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, give us the lead. Chad of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, roll that stone. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, made it home. He fed the stream and he taught us more about the old bones under the floor. He said Stegosaurus had plates for show, and some ran quick where the cold winds blow. He named them raptors, he named them brands, with a tip jar glow and a pair of hands. The chat went wild, we talked and laughed. He turned that night into a walking class. Every dino fact hit clean and true, like a bright old story we could hold on to. He knew the names, he knew the dates. He knew what ate and who was great. From long necks tall to tiny teeth, he laid that history at our feet. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, king of the feed. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, give us the lead. Chad of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, roll that stone. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, made it home. He fed the stream and he taught us more about the old bones under the floor. Some folks brag, some folks pose, some just flash and go, but he came through with the real good stuff. Big love, big facts, and enough is enough. He said, look close, you'll see the clues in the cracked old mud and the ancient bruise. Then he smiled as the final bell rang and the whole damn chat room sang. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, king of the feed. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, give us the lead. Chat of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, roll that stone. Blasterbutt, Blasterbutt, made it home. He fed the stream and he taught us more about the old bones under the floor.
right, that was version 1. Here's version 2.
I logged on tired, screens all dim, and Blasterbot rolled through my stream. He dropped them gives like a summer rain, made my old chatter room feel brand new again. He said, check the bones, check the claw, check the trace. Had a T-Rex grin and a steady pace. Every big donation hit like a drum, and the whole room hollered, here he come. He knew the names, he knew the dates, he knew what ate and who was great. From long necks tall to tiny teeth, he laid that history at our feet. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, king of the feed. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, give us the lead. Chat of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, roll that stone. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, made it home. He fed the stream and he taught us more about the old bones under the floor. He said Stegosaurus had plates for show, and some ran quick where the cold winds blow. He named them raptors, he named them brands, with a tip jar glow and a pair of hands. The chat went wild, we typed and laughed. He turned that night into a walking class. Every dino fact hit clean and true, like a bright old story we could hold on to. He knew the names, he knew the dates, he knew what ate, who was great. From long necks tall to tiny teeth, he laid that history at our feet. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, king of the feed. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, give us the lead. Chat of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, roll that stone. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, made it home. He fed the stream and it taught us more about the old bones under the floor. Some folks brag, some folks pose, some just flash and go, but he came through with the real good stuff. Big love, big facts, and enough is enough. He said, look close, you'll see the clues in the cracked old mud and the ancient brews. Then he smiled as the final bell rang, and the whole damn chat room sang. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, king of the feed. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, give us the lead. Chat of the month with a heart that shines. Big donations and dinosaur facts online. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, roll that stone. Blasterbot, Blasterbot, made it home. He fed the stream and he taught us more about the old bones under the floor.
All right. Oh. I saw Blasterbot agrees that I think pretty much unanimous. Version number 1. Congratulations, Blasterbot. What a badass song. I was laughing the entire time. Beats those crusty old whip songs. Scuzzle for $1 says, can we just opt for the waterboard at this point? Yes. And then another $1 says, I'm here for all 72 versions. There's 98 versions. 2 more. Poor friend X-phobic. Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Well, there's a will, there's a way. Well, there's a will, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day. All day, all day. Well, there's a way. There's a way. Well, there's a way. There's a way. There's a way. There's a way. Left, right, left, right, left. Well, there's a way. There's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war. Well, there's a way, there's a way. Well, there's a way, there's a way.
Last one. Thank goodness. Where's Wade Boggs tonight? Wait for him to chime in. Oh boy. I know this one sucks for reasons I'll keep to myself.
There's a whip, there's a way, where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today. But the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. 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 Left, right, left, right, left. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Left, right. A crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. For we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Okay. Did we do it? Are we done? We finished? Short. No, over a minute. Fuck you. I just played 8 minutes of... it's been a fun night. I'm sorry I started late tonight. I was having a lot of fun watching that debate. One more. Well, I'm not giving you guys a free whip song, but I will play a different song. What do we want to hear? How about this Somali daycare song? We haven't heard that one in a while. You want to hear that one? You remember when I decided I was going to open a Somali daycare? Here.
Karur farabadnaya narka magasho kala duan kosol dhan kamatelinda kada istakata ainu char kubarano hannano sannano hannano sannano wanjek lahay halkan waqbadan kabarnaya zero midap shikoyo jar kalbi gaga ay ifti minaya sannano 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 wanjek lahay
لو خطد وخان کو کرنا لبو ساده افارتا قديب شمبير ساويرا ايان رينجينا جاغر بلوك كسانا كودر
साहिब के यार वो इचाविया गलत मा आहा इसको दे मरकले मरका सखन ओफल बसच पिया गचन कोर उता फरखद बा सोचोताई हन्नानो
زنانو
हन्नानो
زنانو
वांजक लहे हल्का वह बदन कबरनया जीरो मिडप शिको योचर कल्बी गागा ए इफ्ती मिनया
I'm glad you all hate it.
مرنوان هيزنا مرنوا خان اخرنا خرفو
Kosolyo kailo farhad leh guriga markan ado
والد كيوان توسا زمان مان تبرتيدن خنانو زنانو
It's Somali. Fuck you guys. I was informed that was all right. We'll do the olive song. Fucking olive song. All right.
Straight to top, an alpha male. Leave no leader standing as you give them hell. Patriarchy, winning debates, or
All right. Well, everybody's. Oh, wrong button. Everybody's like, play this song, play that song. Pushy for people that aren't donating anymore. Yeah, good thing Jake Rattlesnake was there to save Andrew. I do have, I sympathize. I bought Andrew some jar opener grippy things, All right. Are you allowed to like Dio X-phobic? Wasn't he Jewish? Am I wrong about that? Rainbow in the Dark sounds like a Jewish song to me. I don't know. I don't know what the policy is on that. Sounds like Zionism to me. I don't know. We're going to have to get a ruling on that, Dio with Black Sabbath. I prefer Dio to Ozzy, to be honest. Dio's Italian like Nick. Skazzle, $1 says, Rob, where was our extravaganza today? I was waiting patiently. Well, I don't know why Jake and Andrew didn't do it. I know why I didn't do it, because my computer was at my friend's house being repaired. So there was nothing I could do. I asked him if I could do it on the phone or anything. It turns out I left my cousin borrow my laptop, so I was sort of up the creek, and they said never mind. So I'm gonna look this up. Can I do Jewish hair? Dio had like Jewish looking hair, didn't he? Maybe he wasn't a Jew, he was Jewish. Right? Italian American. Oh boy. Raised Catholic. My grandma, my mom's mom, was convinced that Dio was satanic. That the font he used to spell his name on his album, his solo stuff, said devil. She was really convinced of that. Jewish hair that's anti-Semitic. Don't tell my handlers. All right. Well, it's been a great night. I do apologize I started late. I've had fun. I don't want to hear anyone complaining that I didn't make up for the whip songs for last night. I tried my best. We're going to raid over to... Oh, I didn't see. Max, I'll get to you, man. I'll check out what's going on Signal, I promise. I'll get to it tomorrow, I promise. All right. First off, thank you, Modern Day Debate, Ryan Mullally and Pisco, for doing the debate that I covered for at least the beginning of the show tonight. Thank you to my editor, Black Elk. Thank you so much to all of my tremendous moderators, everyone who donated money. Thank you to our chat of the month, Blasterbot. Tremendous dude. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think Speakeasy's doing like a 50-hour stream, so. Look, the riots are going on still in Newark tonight. Don't forget what these stakes are. When you hear that debate, when you hear Pisco trying to, as Ryan so eloquently put it, a thin veneer of banality on what their actual extremism is, never forget what the stakes are. They want to take power forever. They want to punish you. They want to make sure that you have no access to authority. And think of someone like Charlie Kirk. How they killed him, mocked his family, and basically have suffered no consequences. Going on in Minneapolis tonight, too. That's crazy. So say a prayer for Charlie and his family. And just take a minute to watch this outro video. And just say a prayer for them if you would. So I will see you all probably tomorrow evening. There's a chance I won't be streaming tomorrow evening. Either one, my computer dies, or second, I might have to go to Pittsburgh. I don't think so, though. So, all right, we'll talk to you all soon. Enjoy the raid of Speakeasy. As always, have a good one.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? The hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.